The thing about life is that it never goes the way you expect. Right now in the deep levels of Shinjuku Dungeon, two ladies call out to Harushige as he stands before a dark entity. The Void, what are you doing here? But back to the story. Harushige can't believe it because what do you mean he was just an office drone a month ago, and now he's in front of a powerful enemy? He extends his hand to this being and activates his skill. Dominate. Let's wind it back to a month ago. Our guy is the poster boy of overworked and underpaid, slaving away at the office for 4 all-nighters a week on average. Can you believe his monthly OT totals at least 160 hours? His company practically rivals Elon Musk's OT for his employees at Tesla. What's worse is that there are no bonuses, raises, or promotions, which kind of makes you wonder why he's staying at that workplace in the first place. But a blessing in disguise came in the form of our hero, Yamamoto Harushige, suddenly getting axed at work that day. Our dude worked for 16 years at this company, and at 38 he got fired, and with no separation pay. Amazing. He left the office that very minute, and as the view of a tree enveloping a giant building is a sign enough, Hashigure sits at a nearby bench wondering if maybe it's high time he tries becoming an explorer or something. Before everything else, what is an explorer anyway? You see, around 50 years ago, buildings across the world suddenly transformed into monster-filled labyrinths through a phenomenon called Dungeonization. You can already imagine the capitalists seeing this as an opportunity for business, no? From this scenario, a new occupation called explorers was introduced. Their main goal is simple. If they can defeat the boss at the end, then the building returns to normal. Hashigure reads the advertisement to become an explorer, walking into a high-rise building as he does so. As soon as he enters, he's met with different kinds of people, wearing fancy clothes and equipment fit for exploring the dungeons. A PR voice can be heard saying that some fight to reclaim the world, while others test their strength. More people chase the riches hidden deep within the dungeons. Regardless of their choices, to each their own. With that, the poster girl is enticing people to join and become explorers to chase their dreams. But before the ad finished airing, there was a small disclaimer saying they're not responsible for all injuries and deaths that happen within the dungeon. And that just about sums up the introductory video for explorers. The lady in charge of the orientation wraps it up quickly, asking if he has any questions. Well, Hashigure is sane enough to ask about that very sketchy disclaimer at the end. Like any lady who has signed an NDA and is loyal to her company, she moves on to the next part, waltzing out the door to lead him to registration. Of course, Hashigure had no other choice but to follow suit as she led him to a towering stone tablet. For convenience purposes, we'll just call her Lady, okay? So Lady asks Hashigure to put his hand on the stone tablet and to state his name and age. He steps forward and does as she instructed, but after a beat, nothing happens. Hashigure turns to Lady asking if he's doing it right, only to see that the latter is looking at him funnily. There was some judgment going on, that's for sure. It took a second for Lady to assure him that it's okay. They totally had guys his age who signed up as explorers, occasionally. He can see through her. Lady's really out here trying to spare his feelings. Well, now that orientation and registration are done, what's next? Lady tells him to say status, and as soon as he does, a prompt appears. Lady explains that only he can see that screen showing his current level, Explorer Level 1. As soon as he defeats monsters and gains experience, his level will increase. But most important of all are the skills. According to her, skills are usually special powers earned through talent and years of training, and everyone starts with a few basic ones. As for the quality of their skills, it all boils down to pure luck. She has faith that someone like him might even have gotten a pretty good one. Alright then, let's see what his skills are, is that right? The screen says his skills include appraisal and world tame. Hashigure turns to her, and even she couldn't hide the disappointment in her face. Those are quite some basic skills he got there, Nevertheless, she fills him in on his skills anyway. Appraisal is a pretty useful skill that allows him to check the stats of monsters and other explorers. But for World Tame, well, she's not too sure. There is the word Tame in there after all, and it says among all the starting skills, Tame ranks in the bottom 3. That bad, Tame uses spirit points, or SP, to control monsters, which is pretty terrible. Weak monsters are too dumb to follow orders, whereas strong monsters have resistance. Plus, it consumes a lot of SP, and there's always the chance that monsters can't be tamed at all. On the off chance that he succeeds, the control may not last long. After that long explanation, a heavy air can be felt between them, and yet Lady still wishes him to enjoy his explorer life. Cut to the next scene, explorers litter around the building's lobby, and there's Hashigure holding a small bag of an explorer's beginner equipment, along with the ad on his arm. Well, can't say he didn't see this one coming. But to be fair, it's not like he planned to make a serious career out of this. After all, it was a spur-of-the-moment decision. Clutching his beginner bag, it only dawned upon him now that he really has no talent. But it's not so surprising since he is just a washed-up 38-year-old. Just then, he sees other explorers getting giddy and clamoring over something. Of course, his nosy butt just had to see what's going on when he heard one of the explorers say that the absolute knights are over there. A party of 4 appears, led by a man in armor with 3 others trailing after him. Right behind him is a girl in a long ponytail carrying the head of a dragon as if it's nothing. The other explorers start talking about them, with one claiming their party is going after Shinjuku next. By the way they carry themselves alone, it's pretty obvious that the absolute knights are the cream of the crop. Even Hashigura can see that. Speaking of, let's check their stats using his appraisal just to have an idea of how strong these people are. Hashigura used it on the girl carrying the dragon head, and the screen reveals that her name is Kokonoi Sakurako. A 24-year-old human, she's a level 139 with a chock full of skills like Great Sword, Appraisal, Mental Resistance, Emergency Dodge, and a whole lot more. Upon seeing her stats, Hashigura felt a little overwhelmed and at the same time helpless. She's practically more than a decade younger than him and she's got all that going for her? Well, Lady did tell him earlier that skills are special powers earned through talent and training. He turns away from the crowd and decides that he'll just take one monster out near the entrance. That should be enough to leave a memory of his short stint as an explorer, no? Unknown to him, Sakurako turns in his direction as soon as he walks away. The other guy noticed this and asked if something's up. She tells him it's nothing. But in her mind, it felt like something was off, but maybe she was just imagining it. On to the next panel, we see Hashigura at the scene of his explorer debut, at Napori Dungeon. Our guy didn't even bother changing out of his salaryman outfit and just slapped the chest armor on, hyping himself a little while he was at it. Lady recommended Napori for first-time explorers since the monsters are weaker here, and deaths are relatively rare. Emphasis on the word relatively, so there's a chance one can still die, no? She also tells him to head back to the guild to report after he's done exploring as a way to wrap up his onboarding. Hashigura enters the rocky cave, but to his surprise, the inside looks just like a darkened hallway of an office. To be precise, the very view he saw whenever he pulled all-nighters at the office. And the memories came flooding back. He remembers his boss rinsing his butt for not finishing those reports. In his defense, he remembers the older man saying he'll take care of those. But like any old fart, he gets angry and gaslights poor Hashigura. So what does a rank-and-file employee like him have to do? Own up to his boss's mistake, that's what. What's even worse is that the older man wants the report done by morning, so Hashigura slaved the night away at the office. His office mates find him pitiful like that. That darn memory came and went like a second, so Hashigura had to shake his head off to not mull over the past. He has to focus on being an explorer now, and he might as well enjoy it. Who cares if he doesn't have the talent for it? What he has is a lot of time on his hands and a few savings, so to hell with it. He gingerly looks over the caverns, looking for any signs of monsters or trouble. And that's when he hears it. A cute Q sound, like Togepi. For the first time in his life, Hashigura is face to face with a monster, although it's only a blob of slime. Oh, he can't help but get a little excited and just look at how cute that is hopping around. But is this it? Is this a monster? Well, it's exactly what he imagined slimes to look like, and since he's at it, he uses appraisal. It's a slime alright, and it's a level 1 with 2 skills, tackle and absorb. Hashigura got too engrossed looking at the monster data that he failed to see slime charge toward him, hitting him square in the gut. Oof, this monster may be a level 1, but so is he. That attack sent him skidding back on his side as he finally realized that the monster had just attacked him. Did the slime just body slam the hell out of him? Hashigura checks his status and sees that he took some damage. So that cost him 8 SP, which means he can survive 6 more hits. But can he though? Just one critical hit and he's a goner. Suddenly, slime starts to brace itself for another attack, and Hashigura is quick enough to see it. But what will he do? Dodge? Counterattack? Can he even do both at the same time? That's when he saw his other skill on the screen. That's it. World Tame. Okay, he knows what to do. It's now or never. As the slime bounced and propelled itself to him, Hashigura raised his hand and yelled, "Dominate!" His hand glowed, followed by a few light streaks, and then it was over. It was dark again in the cave, and only his pants could be heard. But something changed. The once violent slime is now docile. There's even a small balloon over its head saying it's awaiting command. Wait, so does that mean it worked? It worked! His world tame actually worked, but his happiness got cut short when he felt his knees buckle. Crap. He feels like throwing up. He checks his status and sees that using World Tame cost him 40 SP, but you know what? Compared to pulling an all-nighter, this is basic. He can brave through that fatigue. He's got grit after all. Now then, back to this slime. Hashigura eyes the monster, looking at the prompt above its head. Lady told him back then that weak monsters don't obey monsters, but what is this? Well, to heck with it, so he instructs the slime to try jumping. The monster starts bouncing off the ground, which proves that it actually listens. Well, given that there are a lot of different skills out there, Hashigura thought that maybe his skills aren't so bad after all. With that, he tells the slime to stop, but what if? Cut to the next scene. Hashigura finds another slime, but this time he's not alone. He calls on the slime before, naming him Hama, and orders him to strike down the enemy. Hama zooms around and decks the other slime. Once it was out of it, Hashigura used this chance to cut it in half. Woo! Hashigura couldn't contain his excitement, cheering himself for taking out 5 slimes in one go. At this rate, he can even handle himself in a fight. He checks his stats and sees that he's a level 8 explorer now. Moreover, his HP and SP have also increased, and he's gained a few skills like mental resistance, knife, and emergency dodge. Hama starts bouncing around aggressively, making him chuckle. It looks like the little guy is cheering him on too. Suddenly, Hashigure lets out an exasperated sigh as he remembers working nights again, staring intently at the glow of his monitor, alone at the office. Looking back, he looks more like a zombie then. Hama's cute voice snapped him back to reality as he squatted before the slime. He pats its head, muttering to himself how it seems he's got his first subordinate. Hashigure gets up and says he'll just explore a little further and call it a day. He emerges from Nippori, a little blinded by the bright surroundings, and not a moment later, Lady comes running. She calls out to him, panting, before scolding him in a beat. Didn't she tell him before to report back once he's finished exploring? Hashigure apologizes and tells her that he just wrapped up now and was just about to return. Wait, what? He repeats what he just said, but Lady is more concerned that he was actually holed up in Nippori this whole time exploring that dungeon? Hashigure says yeah, so Lady had to tell him that it's been over 15 hours since he entered the dungeon. What the hell? Well, he's not too shocked about it. If anything, Hashigure thinks that his old work schedule must have rubbed off on him that badly, pulling all-nighters and all that crap. He didn't even notice that time flew by. He goes on to say how he couldn't believe he spent over 15 hours fighting monsters. But to his surprise, it's more enjoyable than he originally thought. Back when he was an office employee, it was just days and days of endless work. At least with dungeon exploration, he feels like he's making progress. Wait a minute, speaking of progress, Lady asks if he leveled up. Hashigure says he did, but it's just a little though. She had to follow up and ask how much he leveled up, so Hashigure checked his status, saying he made it to level 8 today. Not much, right? But like what they used to say, slow and steady wins the race. Lady is beyond speechless. He reached level 8 in a day? Even fast learners usually take a week just to reach level 1. Yeah, you could say he fought monsters non-stop for over 15 hours, but Hashigure's growth rate is just not normal. Seeing Lady still hadn't spoken a word, Hashigure was about to tell her about the report, and that snapped her back to now. Well, everything's fine now that she confirmed it all, so he's good to go home. With that, Hashigure gives a little bow, thanking Lady for all her help today before he leaves. Looking at his retreating back, Lady can't help but wonder just who this Yamamoto Harushige is. Our dude's on the train ride home now, clutching his equipment as he stares mindlessly at the ceiling. He mutters to himself that, with all things considered, today was a bit of fun for him. The experience made him wonder what he should do tomorrow. Saying that out loud shocks him, the thought of tomorrow. He remembers the usual train ride en route to work with other corporate slaves like him and working tirelessly in front of the computer, then going home to sleep in his crappy apartment. Now that he realized it, it's been years since he actually looked forward to the next day. He smiles a little, wondering what's in store for him tomorrow. He clutches his equipment bag tighter, excited at what tomorrow will bring. Someone's getting rinsed pretty badly at the office today, and it's not Hashigure. A female worker bows her head apologetically as the section chief continues to slam her work. He slaps her report, ordering her not to go home until she finishes all of it. With that, the girl exits quietly with her head down and passes by Hashigure's workstation. He was about to ask if he could help her with anything when the section chief turned on him this time, asking for the papers from before. Of course, Hashigure has to prioritize what his boss says, but he can't help but feel bad about her, looking at her hunched back as she walked away. With that, Hashigure woke up with a start, drenched in cold sweat. Crap, he can't believe he's still having nightmares about that time, huh? He pulls the curtain open, telling himself that he's not a salaryman anymore. It's time to switch gears. The morning light energizes him, as he claims it's time to hit the grind. Feeling much bolder now, Hashigure goes to the Shinjuku dungeon, but at the upper levels only. A goblin snarls, and 2 of them decide to attack him at once. But our dude's no beginner now. With just 2 flicks of his knife, he cuts them down easily. Suddenly, a 3rd goblin springs from behind him, unknown to him. Out of nowhere, a flurry of movement took down this goblin just in time for Hashigure to see him. He beams. Nice work. It's all thanks to his 3 slimes, Sura Ichiro, Surajiro, and Sura Saburo. Can he not think of a shorter name for these slimes? Quite a mouthful if you ask me. Anyway, he turns back to the enemies ahead. There are still several goblins left, and Hashigure's intent is to push a little further than yesterday. But before we continue with that, let's talk about what happened after his first dungeon run. Lady screams at his face, asking what the hell he was doing. She can't believe he brought a monster out of the dungeon. First, he pulled an all-nighter at the dungeon, and now this? He's a walking disaster. That's it, she's had it. She's calling this into the higher-ups. But wait, he's just as freaked out as she is. Hashigura explains that he can't cancel the Tame. So imagine his surprise when he opened his bag and saw slime in there. He thinks the monster must have crawled inside his bag before he exited the dungeon. He feels apologetic, swearing he doesn't know how to cancel it. But yeah, this is bad news, right? Lady stares at him, admitting that it is bad. However, something is also weird. Weird? How so? She explains that normally, using skills outside the dungeon zones triggers instant alerts, meaning the guild would have been all over him in one go at that moment. Strangely enough, Hashigura hasn't been flagged yet. Her brows furrowed, looking at him, thinking about how he was able to raise his level 8 times and have a completely unknown skill. Lady's senses are tingling. There's something definitely strange about this guy. But her ultimate dilemma now is this. Should she report him now or not? But if she does, the paperwork is nothing but a pain. After careful consideration, she tells Hashigura that it's all good for now. Emphasis on for now. He obviously didn't expect that decision from her, so he had to ask again if she was sure about it. Lady tells him that his skills didn't trigger any alerts, and technically speaking, it's not illegal to have monsters just to use skills, and if he's not abusing it, then it's all fine. She proclaims his utter belief in him, and no, this is not about how troublesome it is to report him at all, but Hashigura heard her muttering that. But no, it's all fine. Now then, her only advice this time is to avoid going around parading his slimes like that. She got scared as hell seeing him do that. Hashigura quickly agrees, and one more thing. Lady asks if he has ever considered exploring the Shinjuku dungeon. It's much bigger than Nippori, but the upper floors are perfect for rookies who've gotten used to exploring Nippori. Basically, it's the next step up. Well, normally one needs more experience, but she thinks Hashigura will be fine since the monsters are only slightly stronger than slimes. Now we're back to the present, with Hashigura slashing the goblins one after the other. Before long, there's a pile of dead goblins behind him, remembering what just transpired this morning. Is this lady's definition of slightly? But hey, look at that! Our dude's at level 19 now, and he's got 2 additional skills, Detection and Fighting Spirit. The goblins' bodies start to disintegrate, with only their fangs left on the floor. Ew! Still, Hashigura uses his appraisal to see if it has any value. The screen shows him that a piece of goblin fang costs around 500 to 800 yen. He exhales, putting his hand over his waist as he remembers that he's no longer a salaryman. He's an explorer now. In this new life, he'll only do what he wants to do, and he won't do what he doesn't want to do. He looks back at the goblin fang and ultimately picks it up. Well, he still needs money to live, so he'll just avoid what he doesn't want to do as much as possible. Suddenly, the slimes come rushing. These 3, Sura Ichiro, Surajiro, and Sura Saburo, are on different levels. The first is level 13, while the second is level 8, and the third is level 7. He pats one of them for a job well done before ordering them to continue scouting. Looking at his little party, Hashigura feels fortunate to have these guys. It's too bad though, since he can only keep 3 active. But on the other hand, he can't bring them home or drag them around anyway. It didn't take long for them to find another goblin, so Hashigura defeats it and claims its fang before diving deeper into the dungeon. It's been like that for a while now, with his pockets almost brimming with goblin fangs. He's got a pretty decent haul, but they're all dirt cheap, which means he has to grind a bit more. Just then he notices a dark cavern, remembering how treasures are always tucked away in hidden corners like these. With that in mind, he orders Sura Ichiro to check it out. He watches the slime hop its way into the cavern and waits for its return. While waiting, Hashigura thinks that it must have already been wiped clean, but you never know, right? Maybe there's still treasure left. He continues to wait until suddenly, he hears something grab the slime. Oh no, something's not right! Hashigura enters the cavern, calling out to Sura Ichiro when he sees something he was not meant to see. 3 guys got a girl pinned down in an uncompromising position, and they're just as surprised as Hashigura is. What the? Even though Hashigura already knows what's about to happen, he asks the guys what they're doing, with shock evident in his face. One of them gets up, saying they're in the middle of something here. So is Pops trying to play hero or something now? Hashigura uses his appraisal and sees the guy's stats. He's a 22-year-old human named Date Takuma. A level 27 with swordsmanship, emergency dodge, and restraint magic skills. This guy is strong, much stronger than our dude. By now, Takuma is up, walking over to Hashigura, and judging by the expression on the latter's face, he knows his level is higher than our guy. Takuma kicks the slime, asking if Hashigura's skill is to tame this pathetic thing. But Hashigura didn't answer, so Takuma continued to run his mouth, saying anyone lugging around useless trash like slimes must be trash too. With a trash skill, trash monsters, and a trash level, it just goes to show that this old man is pathetic in Takuma's eyes. To the point that he almost pities our guy. Wait a minute, he has an idea. How about they let this Pops join in on the fun too? Takuma's friends hold the girl, making her cry even more. She looks at Hashigura with pleading eyes, and the latter looks back in all seriousness. He has flashbacks to his co-worker then, as word spread around the department was the reason the poor girl died. While still sitting in front of his workstation, the once salaryman Hashigure listens as he hears them shift the blame between the department and the girl herself. But whatever the case may be, they all think that if someone had just helped her then, maybe that wouldn't have happened. But it's too late to say that now. Hearing all that talk made Hashigure ball his fists in frustration. And now he sees himself in the same situation. With one of his slimes down and a poor girl being held against her will, he had to make a decision. Hashigure hangs his head low, saying he's not the person he used to be, and in this life, he'll live on his own terms. He won't do what he doesn't want to do, so this time, he's going to save her no matter what. Takuma drew his axe when he heard Pop say that. Save her? To hell with copping a feel, he'll just kill the old man right here, right now, and feed his corpse to the dungeon monsters. As he was about to attack Hashigure, the latter stood still, concentrating the power in his hand before facing his palm up to Takuma and yelling, "Tame!" There was a tense moment as everybody got their eyes on the two, who both looked as if they were frozen in time. Hashigure speaks, ordering Takuma to leave now, not to show his face near her again and to never hurt anyone again. Another silence before the other two guys burst out laughing. Is he an idiot? Tame doesn't work on humans? They keep on belittling Hashigure, claiming he doesn't know his own skills and calling him names. Meanwhile, they tell Takuma to kill Pops and smash his skull, only for Takuma to drop his axe. Huh, what's wrong, dude? In a quiet voice, he hesitated, making the two wait in anticipation for what he was going to say. I'm going home, Takuma said. Still shaking, he repeats what he had just said and starts walking toward the exit, all while saying he's going home. Of course, the other two were shocked by this development. What the hell? They pick up Takuma's axe and run after him. Meanwhile, Hashigure frees the girl. He assures her that everything's fine now and even hands her a recovery potion. While the girl drinks it, Hashigure stares at his hand, thinking about how he acted on instinct. To be fair, he never thought that it would actually work on a human. He balls his palm, thinking that maybe, no, definitely, he's pretty sure that his is not a normal tame skill. Just then, the girl speaks and thanks him for saving her. This girl's name is Asuzaki Makoto. She's an 18-year-old level 16 archer. Hashigure asks if she's hurt anywhere, but she tells him she's not. Well, thank goodness then. Maoto promises to pay him back for the potion, but he tells her it's fine. If anything, he only did it because he wanted to help, saying this while cradling poor Sura Ichiro. Makoto was dumbstruck when she heard that, but still. She insists on paying for it because it must have been expensive, right? Seriously though, Hashigure assures her that it's fine and he hasn't even used it yet. The girl is hell-bent on repaying him somehow, even though he keeps rejecting it. To end this back and forth, Hashigure gets up and walks away, saying knowing she's safe is good enough for him. Our dude is about to go on his way when Makoto grabs his shirt. With a determined look, she asks Hashigure if he wants to form a party with her. Huh? With Makoto's sudden invitation, the two find themselves sitting near the entrance of the Shinjuku dungeon. She sits across from him, thanking him again for saving her earlier, and introduces herself as Asuzaki Makoto. She bows politely, something Hashigure mirrors, and introduces himself promptly. Makoto explains that those three guys from before were actually her party members, but he didn't realize that they were novice hunters. Novice hunters? Hashigure echoes the term questioningly, so Makoto explains what they are. You see, this happens often with explorers, wherein novice hunters lure clueless newbies into their parties. Once they're inside the dungeon and out of the guild's sight, these ruthless people will rob you blind and kill you. The worst part is that deaths in dungeons aren't investigated. Yeah, remember that small disclaimer from the introductory video back then? This is where it comes in. Like many others, poor Makoto also fell for that stupid promise of earning $1 million a day with no experience. One of the most widely used pitches for individuals desperate to earn more. Listening to her story, Hashigure feels bad for her, but knowing what happened just now, does she really want him to form a party with her? For all she knows, he could be just as bad as her former party mates. At the mention of that, Makoto is taken aback. You mean he's actually a bad person? Hashigure had to stress that it's a what-if scenario. Like, girl, be for real. Oh, is that so? Makoto sighs in relief. It was just a hypothetical question after all. But this just made Hashigure worry about her even more. She's far too trusting. This time he tells her that he's barely a week old as an explorer, and he doesn't even know how parties work. With that said, he asks her if she could explain it to him. Makoto begins by saying that when you form a party, item transfers become easier and you can share the experience points earned in dungeons. Nani, the heck? Experience points? Shared? Hashigure still doesn't know any of this. So Makoto explains by example, let's say a monster is equal to 100 XP. If they take it down together, Hashigure not only gets 100 EXP, but he also gets a bonus from whatever his party member earns, and in this case, it's also 100. When you look at it like this, even if he doesn't fight much, he still gains experience as long as the others are defeating the monsters. Now even he admits that the benefit is pretty handy. Makoto braces herself as she opens up to him that she's actually desperately short on money right now. So this is her offer. If they form a party together, she'll hunt monsters in the dungeon every day. He can take the bonus EXO as her thanks is what she's thinking. It may sound pretty selfish, but that's the only thing she can offer now. Hashigure mulls over this for a bit and was about to say even if he turns her down, but he didn't get to finish his sentence. Makoto stands on her seat, leaning closer to him as she tells him that it's not right. A favor is a favor, so she has to repay him. So he ponders over it again, and after a long pause he agrees, but on one condition. They go into the dungeon and hunt monsters together. What's more, he wants to split the loot 50-50, so if she's fine with that, then they have a deal. She's not too pleased with the setup, but if he's fine with that, then sure. Still, she insists on going the extra mile, urging him to speak up if he ever feels uncomfortable about anything. Makoto promises to do whatever it takes, so just to appease her, Hashigure says that he will. In his mind, he knows this girl means well, but she can come off a little too intense. While the two got into an agreement, somewhere else in the Shinjuku dungeon, a couple of adventurers are fearing for their lives. They stand frozen in their spots, looking at this monster that's not even supposed to be on this floor. A giant, dark-skinned cyclops looms over them, asking just why the hell a monster like this is here. Then back to Makoto and Hashigure. The latter says they should call it a day. What? But Makoto assures him that she's fine, with the older man only looking at him intently in reply. He tells her that they don't have any reason to rush and that it's better to be safe than sorry. Makoto apologizes for causing trouble again, but just when the older man was about to say something, they heard a booming noise that sent tremors through every part of the dungeon. Hashigure turns in the direction of the noise and points out that it's nearby. Not a moment later, one of the explorers from before comes out injured and running. He falls to the ground, reaching his hand out to ask for help, when a giant foot stomps the ground a few feet away from him. The glaring eye of the Cyclops gleams in the dark as it stands towering before the three of them. Hashigure hurries over to help the other guy with his eyes set on the monster. Just what the hell is that? Makoto says that it's a Cyclops, but just like the other explorers, she can't believe this monster is here, especially since they're pretty close to the surface. Hashigure puts his arm around the injured guy and tells Makoto they need to bail now. She should go first. Makoto looks at them and knows they can't outrun the monster while carrying an injured person. So what are her options? Run? Ditch them? Is she going to let him save her again? The Cyclops eyes them, no pun intended, with tenacity, exhaling steam with its mouth open. Makoto decides then that she has to do this. She grips her bow tightly and quickly draws it, telling Hashigure that she'll hold off the monster so they can get out of here. Hashigure and the other guy are already a few feet ahead of her, while Makoto didn't even look back as she fired an arrow at the Cyclops' eye. The monster extends its hand to smash her, but thankfully, she manages to evade in time before its attack could make contact. Makoto gets into position and fires another shot but misses her target again. Now she grows frustrated at her inability to land a clean hit. Now if only she could slow it down. On the other hand, Hashigure and the other guy made it out of the cavern, but the older man can't help but look back and worry over Makoto. By now she's already exhausted from running around and attacking, huffing as she tries to compose herself. But the Cyclops is directly over her now, and with its right hand it raises its arm high to smash her on the ground. The image of the Cyclops' palm growing closer is embedded in her mind, but all she can think about is that she needs to pull herself together. Makoto's memories came flooding back of her praying in front of a loved one's altar, and her taking care of her younger siblings. There's also the memory of her talking with her bedridden mother, with the latter apologizing because Makoto had to quit the club because she got sick. With a smile, Makoto assures her mother that she's okay and that she should focus on getting better. With a bright smile, she tells her mother that she'll take care of everything, so she has to pull herself together. She happens to get hold of a flyer inviting people to become an explorer, and that's how she met Takuma and the others, which leads to now. Makoto has her hands over her head, teary-eyed as she braces for the worst, but to her surprise it doesn't come. She looks up and sees that Hashigure saved her again, blocking the Cyclops' hand with his blade, while three slimes hold it off. Makoto calls out to him, and as if on cue, his blade cracks as Hashigure is forced to carry the brunt of the Cyclops' blow. Still, he holds his position, with all three slimes helping him ease the pressure. With his other hand, Hashigure extends his palm to the monster and shouts, "Tame!" The usual streaks of light emerge, with the Cyclops frozen in place. Now that it stopped moving, Hashigure calls Makoto, snapping her back to focus as he tells her she's got this. Makoto pulls herself together and draws her bow, aiming it straight at the Cyclops' eye, firing directly into her target. A clean hit! The Cyclops finally collapses to the ground, so Makoto runs over to him. She makes herself small, apologizing for how this is all her fault again, but Hashigure only stares back at her. When he finally spoke to call out her name, Makoto was ready to receive a good scolding. But to her surprise, the older man told her that he wanted to rely on her from now on. With that said, he wants her to count on him too, smiling as he tells her that they're a team now. Makoto feels lighthearted to hear those words, but because of her personality, she finds it hard to accept people's help. In the end, she caves in and tells him she will as Hashigure smiles at her. So it's true then? The mighty Absolute Knights are finally diving into the Shinjuku dungeon, aren't they? This person asks Sakurako how confident she feels about this, but the latter turns away. She doesn't really do confidence checks about these things. For Sakurako, it will always be survival of the fittest wherever you are. She heads for the door and is about to leave, but not without thanking this person for the blade. The person Sakurako just talked to sighs because one of her best customers won't be appearing for a while. This just means the shop will be pretty quiet for the time being. What a drag. The next day we're at Explorer Alley, where it's packed with adventurers of all levels. One merchant calls out to his customers for having the cheapest potions in town, while another is just about ready to sales talk about eel. It even comes with a bonus file. So yeah, this is Explorer Alley. It's just a 2-minute walk from Ueno Station. It's a sanctioned guild marketplace packed with shops and stocked with weapons, armor, and all kinds of survival supplies. Right in the middle of it all is our man Harushige, who feels a little overwhelmed by it all. Well, according to Makoto, he could replace his busted weapon here. In all honesty though, Harushige didn't expect it to be this massive. Just then, Makoto calls out to him and shows him a certain shop on her phone. According to the site, the shop has top-tier weapon rankings. Is that so? But Harushige kind of liked the vibe of the last place. Anywhere's fine, right? But Makoto wouldn't hear it. She snaps and tells him that if he's buying gear, then it's best to purchase it from a proper dealer. She tells him not to worry because she will make sure to find the perfect match for him. So just like that, the two of them went shop hopping, with Makoto doing most of the work. By the end of the third shop, our man's already gasping because he never thought shopping for gear would feel so much like a field op. The poor guy is just about to have a deja vu from his last workplace, but when Harushige finally looks up to suggest a little break to her, he finds himself alone in the middle of the street. Makoto is gone. Like any sensible adult, Harushige calls her, but unfortunately he can't reach her. She starts walking with nowhere to go in mind, thinking that Makoto will reply soon enough. For now, he needs to find a place to sit. That's when he spotted it. There's a small sign plastered in a narrow alleyway that reads Weapons and Armor, Anaguma Shop. With curiosity getting the better of him, Harushige turns the corner and heads straight to this dark and narrow alley. He looks around, and to his surprise, a brick-clad shop stands before him with the signboard Anaguma Shop hanging above. Our guy pushes the door open, and no sooner does he do so than the mysterious shop owner from the beginning perks up. Oh, she's impressed because it's been a while since someone wandered in. The woman gets up from her seat and puts out her cigarette, welcoming Harushige to Anaguma Shop. She walks over and asks him what kind of weapon he's looking for, but our poor guy's view is kind of being directed to her melons, so Harushige can only stutter gibberish with his eyes up on the ceiling. The woman mistakes this for shyness and then suddenly starts patting his body, making Harushige even more frantic. From all that copping, the woman tells Harushige that he's pretty sturdy, much to his shock. So she explains that his hands have that worn-in muscle tone. From the looks of it, he's been using those guild-issued knives, hasn't he? The woman knows Harushige worked those poor weapons down to the bone, and now he's looking for something real. Did she get it right? He's surprised, but yeah, that's pretty much what he's looking for. He asks for her name, and how silly of her. How can she forget to introduce herself? The woman introduces herself as Ayumu Anaguma. She's the one who runs this forge, but more importantly, she hopes that Harushige will be a regular. Harushige also introduces himself and explains that he just started becoming an explorer, so he's pretty new to all this stuff. Ayumu finds that pretty rare, especially since Harushige gives an aura that he works a desk job. Well, he's been told that often. Besides that, he did work a desk job before. Anyway, they head down with Ayumu leading the way. As they do so, they talk business, but our dude is a little worried about how he so easily trailed behind her and never told Ayumu that he was just looking around. It turns out he's no different from Makoto, but other than that, what is up with this lady? She acts like she has Harushige all figured out. He never expected blacksmiths to come in this kind of vibe because he had always imagined them as middle-aged men with a grin. As if she read his mind, Ayumu suddenly speaks, saying Harushige must be wondering how someone like her could swing a hammer. But our dude is polite enough to say that he never even wondered about that. She says she'll show him the forge later, but for now he should try using appraisal on her. It might open his eyes a little bit. She even knows Harushige has an appraisal skill, with Ayumu telling him that it's fine to do so since Explorer Alley has some exceptions because the guild allows basic skill use here. As she continues to descend, Harushige does as she tells, and to his surprise, this girl is packing. For one, her blacksmithing skill is level max, and she boasts a couple of weapon handling skills, which include knife, dagger, one-handed sword, two-handed sword, greatsword, axe, spear, archer, and guns. Oh, and she could use shields too, martial arts, potions, and hunger resistance. Well, does that make her more believable now? She turns to him, asking if he wants more details. Ayumu touches her chest and says that it was 90, but Harushige cuts her off. That's too much, he doesn't need to know that. She laughs at Harushige for looking so flustered. Look how adorable he is. She apologizes and says she was messing with him. Anyway, they're finally here. They finally reach Ayumu's workshop where different kinds of weapons, some complete, some unfinished, are scattered around. She tells Harushige that she crafts all kinds of weapons and every piece is custom made. Basically, it's a one-of-a-kind work. Ayumu tailors everything to the client's request, budget, and even preferred materials. But is she sure about this? She's set on offering custom work to a total newbie like him, and they haven't even talked about the budget yet. Ayumu smiles and says her shop only sells weapons to special customers or those referred by them. Then that even makes it all stranger, so why him? Ayumu reveals that her place is set up so that only certain kinds of people can perceive it. Even the sign is covered by what they'd call a perception block. There's actually only one condition to even notice the shop. One must possess a unique skill. Ayumu tells him outright that she likes people with something rare in them, something different. The fact that our hero made it here means he has piqued Ayumu's interest big time. But then again, the choice is entirely up to him. Now what will Harushige do? Of course, Harushige bit into it, but Ayumu didn't expect him to have a pretty decent budget. In answer to that, Harushige says it's because he still has some savings left from his old office job. Anyway, she thinks he doesn't have an ounce of a clue about what materials to use, so Ayumu does the honor and appraises him herself. She sees his stats and quickly notices his skills. She knows that's no ordinary taming skill. That garbled text really is a unique skill. Wait, did she read that right? Dominion over all things? Ayumu starts questioning him, asking how long it has been since he became an explorer. Harushige tells her it's been a month now, so she asks him how he broke his weapon next. To that he answers that he blocked a Cyclops attack and that sort of did it for his weapon. At that moment, Ayumu Anaguma felt a question and a stirring emotion. The first question, what was that garbled, unique skill? She grows curious about that corrupted text and the glimpse of that phrase, dominion over all things. Even as a 10-year veteran, she has never seen anything like it. The second question, he already reached level 19 after only a month. That kind of growth is unheard of, but it's tied to a unique skill that is strong, so it's plausible. What struck Ayumu as the most unusual wasn't the skill itself, it was the timing. Cyclopses are powerful monsters, but their blows don't break standard guild-issued weapons. Even with rough use, those blades would last for 6 months, at most a year. So the fact that it broke means Harushige must have swung that weapon tens of thousands of times within just a month before he even got to that Cyclops. With all things considered, Ayumu grabs him by the shoulder as she starts to feel that bubbling emotion in her. This feeling was none other than a deep, genuine curiosity toward Harushige Yamamoto. She's already excited and flushed, telling him how he's quite something. You see, the thing about Ayumu is that she became an explorer to chase the thrill of the unknown. She became a blacksmith to help people dive into that unknown. Simply put, the girl just loves what she doesn't understand. Alright, screw the payment, this one is on her. He should just consider it as a personal investment because Ayumu wants to see how far he will go. She vows to personally craft his new weapon, while all Harushige can do is thank her for that. However, if she's going to make the best possible weapon for him, then there are a lot of things she needs to learn. His height, weight, muscle density, sword swing, habits, and even his body odor. Ayumu draws closer to him as she tells our guy that she needs to examine everything. Our poor hero is terrified, but what else can he do? Cut to the next scene. Makoto and Harushige are finally reunited, with the former surprised that Harushige not only has a weapon being made but also got it custom made and free of charge. But apart from that, she's a little worried for the older man because his mouth is hanging open like a zombie. Harushige has a few band-aids patched up and looks a little ruffled, but he brushes it off, saying a lot has happened. Anyway, back to the weapon topic. He tells her that it will be ready in 3 days so he'll have it right on time for their next expedition. Makoto is already excited to see what it looks like, and even Harushige himself is eager to see the finished product. Back at the shop, Ayumu has her hands busy, drafting plans and making adjustments, excited because things are about to get more interesting. While the two excitedly wait for Harushige's new weapon at Shinjuku Dungeon, something is brewing. Someone wants to clarify if he gets it right. Some random middle-aged explorer shows up out of nowhere and tames his junior, aka that creep date, who is currently on the ground with a foot stepping on his face. And from what this speaker hears, Date can't even do crap anymore since he can't bring himself to kill anyone. Isn't taming supposed to be ineffective on humans? The two others who were with Date at the time are on their knees saying they also thought taming didn't work on humans. The man steps on Date's face harder as he questions about that other thing. Didn't they just unleash that Cyclops into the upper layer, let it go wild and kill off the rookies, so they could scoop up the valuables from the corpses? The two men exchange looks as they report that the Cyclops is already slain. From what they heard, it was taken down by some middle-aged explorer. The man was silent, then suddenly he put more pressure into his foot, leaving Date crying out to him. But the next moment, Date was already gone, his head crushed under the pressure. Well, the man says it's about time they introduce themselves to that old man, no? Fast forward 3 days later at the Anaguma shop. Ayumu is pleased because the test results look great. She can't believe how interesting Harushiga really is. Judging by how he's moving, the weapon is a good fit for him. Right? Harushige can't believe her, with both his hands holding a black sword and a large slash on the wall. This is not a good fit at all. Harushige is panicked because this weapon is way too dangerous to handle. To commemorate his new weapon, Makoto takes a remembrance photo of Harushige with his new weapon, Black Ruler. A 5-star two-handed sword, it has a skill called Auto Repair, and adds a 2-point two-handed sword boost. The duo heads straight to Shinjuku Dungeon, where they immediately come face to face with two Cyclops. As one of them raises its hands to strike them, an arrow flies straight to its eye, fired by Makoto. This caused the monster to collapse, while the other one stepped forward, ready to stomp her. That's when Makoto signaled Harushige to do it now. Our guy appeared out of nowhere with Black Ruler drawn before cutting down the Cyclops straight in its head with one slash. Harushige laughs a little because this weapon feels more like it's using him. With that, they wrap up today's adventure and head back to the guild. They got in a pretty decent haul, with the guild rep commending them for a job well done today. Since they've scoured a lot of monster materials, their total amounts to 140,500 yen. She smiles and tells them to wait for a bit while she prepares an itemized statement. Both Harushige and Makoto feel incredulous, with the younger one surprised at how that adds up so fast. Meanwhile, our dude can't believe they're making this much already. It totally beats his old monthly salary. He turns to Makoto and tells her that he has a few details he needs to process with the clerk, and urges her to head home first. She's a little surprised but doesn't question the older man's suggestion and goes ahead. He feels something's up with the way Makoto left, but because the clerk came back a second later to hand him their statement, Harushige proceeds to discuss that matter with her. If he was referring to the arrest of those people who attacked Makoto, then it's going to be a difficult task. The party behind that, the Black Wolf Pack, has been pulling similar stunts for a while now. But given how dungeon work is outside the guild's immediate reach, it's hard for them to gather solid evidence. Harushige feels let down, and even the clerk feels bad for running short on what they can do. She tells him that the guild is on alert, but there's nothing much they can do from here. Harushige thought that if only those scum would turn themselves in, that would be the quickest way to get rid of them. Harushige exits the guild, and to his surprise, Makoto is still out there, waiting for him. She beams upon seeing the older man, while the latter is surprised to see her still there. What's up? After hesitating for a bit, Makoto asks him if he would like to have dinner with her. Okay, that came out weird, so she quickly clarifies that she thought it would be nice if they could get to know each other better. And since her brothers are all staying at a friend's house tonight, she thought now would be a good time. Well, now that she mentions it, it just dawned upon him that they've never done a team bonding night. Wow, spoken like a true former corporate employee. Anyway, he's not against it and tells her they should go. Makoto beams and Harushige tells her that he'll cover the bill so she doesn't need to worry about it. Oh no, Makoto feels embarrassed since it was she who invited him out. The older man explains it's the other way around. This is him thanking her for asking. Honestly speaking, he's the one who should have suggested it first. So he asks her to just let him play the adult this time and encourages her to eat whatever she likes. Since he insists, Makoto reluctantly agrees. Unknown to them, someone has been watching their move ever since they got out of the guild. The two head to a local barbecue place, and even though he doesn't say it out loud, you could tell on Harushige's face that he's low-key regretting this because Makoto eats like a horse. She finally notices how he's not eating much, prompting her to ask if his stomach is okay. He tells her that this is what happens when you get older. Just watching a young person enjoy their food is filling all by itself. Makoto doesn't question it, while Harushige also feeds his slime. From the looks of it, it has been a while since Makoto ate well, relishing the dishes. She even goes ahead and orders more, such as a salad, namul, kimchi, a short rib, steak tongue, loin, and liver. The two enjoy their time together, and finally, after she's had her fill, Makoto sincerely thanks Harushige. It was no big deal for him. If anything, she could even order seconds if she liked. But Makoto wasn't referring to the barbecue. She goes on about how he saved her when she was attacked, and now she can even earn this much because of him. Thanks to him, Makoto is here like this. Harushige is so taken aback by such sincere words that he is left speechless. As an awkward silence descended upon them, Makoto apologized for making it awkward and asked that he keep looking out for her from now on. Of course, Harushige is more than happy to do so. They left the barbecue place and walked home together. Makoto thanks him again for the meal with Harushige masking a pained expression, glad that she enjoyed it. He really miscalculated with this one, underestimating the appetite of youth because now he's left with a lighter wallet. As if sensing what's on his mind, Makoto brings it up again, asking if he's really sure about paying for it all because she feels bad. Our dude assures her that it's fine. Adults like to look composed, but once she starts working, he urges her to take care of the younger ones in turn, which she says she will. Suddenly, a man steps out from the shadows and tells them both to stop. It was that dude from before. Harushige blocks Makoto from this man, asking who he is. From behind, a couple of other men appear, cornering them as the man tells them that they're not letting the two of them walk away. Harushige looks behind, wondering who the hell these guys are when the man in front of them speaks again and mentions date. They figured they owed them something, which was why they came looking for both Harushige and Makoto. Wait, date. Our dude remembers it now, that was the name of that creep who attacked Makoto. Speaking of Makoto, the poor girl is already terrified because she realized then that these are the Black Wolf Pack. Their leader speaks again and confirms it is so, adding how they crippled one of his men and even messed with his business. Typical bad guy, no accountability at all. With that said, he tells Harushige and Makoto that they're coming with them to have a nice long chat. As if our guy would even agree to that, but this crazy dude warns him that if they don't come, maybe he'll pay their families a visit instead. You see, he already did his homework. He knows the older man is Harushige Yamamoto and the girl's name is Makoto Asuzaki. Speaking of names, he introduces himself as Kenji Kurogiri, the leader of the Black Wolf Pack. Just like that, both Harushige and Makoto are forced to follow along with the Black Wolf Club's demands. Our guy notices how worried Makoto looks and she's even shivering out of fear. That got him mad. He walks closer beside her, and with a steel look, he assures her that everything will be fine. She doesn't have to worry about a thing. Not a single thing. They were led to the third floor of the Shinjuku dungeon, and as soon as they arrived, Kurogiri said they should get talking. Harushige owns up and tells them that he's the one who messed up with one of their men. The girl is not involved. Kurogiri suddenly leaps in the air with his weapon drawn and attacks Harushige. The latter blocks his attack as Kurogiri questions our hero if he really thinks he's the one who gets to decide that. Harushige moves back, and before Makoto can rush to him, he tells her to stay back. He uses his appraisal skill to check out Kurogiri's stats and sees that his opponent has a much higher level than him. He's level 46. Kurogiri's fairly impressed that our guy can block his attack. Looks like he's not just anybody after all. Our hero is on his toes, his hand on his weapon when Kurogiri offers them a deal. Either they can die right here, right now by his hands, or the two can just become their slaves. If they do the latter, he'll let them live, even Makoto's family. Oh, but Makoto is going to have to keep Kurogiri company from time to time for fun. To be honest, he just wanted to thank them, but seeing her face twisted in fear like that got him really turned on. Creep. So what's it gonna be, die here or live as their slaves? But just so Harushige knows, Kurogiri still plans on having fun with Makoto. Makoto watches Harushige and waits for his reaction while Kurogiri bursts out laughing. Hashigure raises his hand, palms out. Kurogiri is dumbfounded. What the hell? But our hero is dead serious though. He's not taking that deal because, for one, he's had enough of the corporate life. With that, he uses his Tame gift. As expected, the small fries instantly fell for it with prompts over their heads. Awaiting orders. Aha, so this is the same Tame that got date. Kurogiri didn't expect it to be possible to cast on so many people at once. Obviously, this has a heavy toll on Harushige as he starts panting heavily. Kurogiri finds this fascinating because it looks like Harushige didn't see this part coming either. He grins mockingly because it looks like our hero's Tame doesn't work on people above his level, huh? He pities our hero for screwing up big time. Now he's done for, and every one of them present there will kill him. Kurogiri starts walking toward him and says that he and his guys also plan to have their way with Makoto before they gut her. He'll make sure to do the same to her family too, with the end result of feeding them to the monsters. But Kurogiri didn't expect himself to drop his own weapon. Wait, what? Crap. Harushige gets it now, so his Tame also works against stronger opponents too. There's just a delay before it kicks in. That's unexpected. Kurogiri starts to panic, and even more so when our hero starts walking toward him. Suddenly, he caves in and gives up. Harushige wins. He promises he won't touch the two of them again. In fact, he'll even get them anything they want. Does he want someone dead? Kurogiri will take care of it. He even promises to make sure the cops and the guild never find out. Promise he'll give Harushige anything he wants. For the first time, Harushige starts aura maxing and orders Kurogiri to kneel. The latter is quick to drop to his knees while Harushige repeats what the other guy mentioned earlier. So he'll give him anything he wants, huh? Well, for starters, he wants Kurogiri to just stay right there. The latter feels cold sweat running down his face as Harushige balls his fist, ready to punch the living daylights out of the Black Wolf Club leader. This is Harushige's first time really hitting someone with all he has. And before Kurogiri can even finish his sentence, Our hero has already punched him square in the face. Kurogiri is knocked back from Harushige's punch, unable to do anything while Makoto watches them from the side. The former is still lying on the ground, wondering why he can't move his body. He wants to run so badly and even turns to his henchmen, asking them for help. The others stand motionless, still waiting for orders. Harushige takes a step closer to Kurogiri, leaving the latter frantic and telling him to stop. Stop? When he attacked Makoto and him and they told Kurogiri to stop, did he stop? The Black Wolf Club leader doesn't answer, and then Harushige makes him stand, which he instantly does. Again, he tries appealing to our guy. This time he wants to become Harushige's underling. He'll work for him and kill whoever he wants. His men will become Harushige's men so he can do whatever he likes with them. Anything he wants, even money or maybe women. Yeah, women. He can snatch up as many women as Harushige likes, but his offer just warranted another punch from our protagonist. Kurogiri feels the wind knocked out of him, and Harushige glares at him, warning him not to say another word in front of Makoto. She's surprised that he's still thinking of her, while Harushige continues that he never said he'd kill the guy. However, he intends to make Kurogiri make things right. The next day, during the morning news, reports came in that more than a dozen members of the Explorer Guild Party, the Black Wolf Club, were taken into custody on suspicion of murder and body disposal. Their leader, 25-year-old Kenji Kurogiri, is charged with premeditated murder and desecration of corpses. The news continues that right before the arrest, the police report states that the group had been acting suspiciously in front of the station. After Harushige and Makoto's encounter with them, our protagonist gave Kurogiri 3 commands. First, he vows to do no harm to anyone again. Second, once morning comes, he will take every last subordinate of his, even those not present at the time, and turn them in. Last, until the day breaks, they will kneel and apologize profusely to all the families of their victims. Harushige turns to Makoto and apologizes for wrapping things up like this, but it's fine. She already told him, didn't she? Makoto never wanted revenge in the first place. Yeah, she was scared for life, and even yesterday's events were pretty scary for her too. But when Harushige told her not to worry back then, she fully believed him. In the end, it wasn't so scary for her after all. If it's like that, then he's glad about it. But it does feel like Makoto is the one always being saved by him, though the older man contests that it's she who keeps doing that for him. She doesn't believe that's the case, but Harushige assures her it is. Continuing with the news blast from the TV, there's a special feature about the strongest explorer party, the Absolute Knights, who are currently conquering the Shinjuku dungeon. Wow. Makoto didn't know that their party was busy conquering Shinjuku, while Harushige wordlessly watched the news munching on his food. If he remembers correctly, they're the ones he saw at the guild before, no? The news anchor details how the Absolute Knights is a party made up of the country's strongest explorers, and right now they're about to show a clip of their interview with the party's leader, Leon Kanzaki. They were curious why their party wanted to dive into this dungeon. To that, Leon answers that he has no interest in status or fame. The only reason he enters dungeons is because of self-discipline. But for some reason, without really wanting to, he rose to fame. Frankly speaking, he finds it a bit troublesome with how people call out to him in town, asking for an autograph, even outside the dungeons. Leon says he can't even have a moment's peace. As for this Shinjuku dungeon quest, this is just another step in his training at best. But if he could be a role model for those who look up to him, then he'll do his best. With that, the interview wraps up. Makoto, for one, doesn't buy into his gig. In fact, she finds him kind of shady, though yeah, he's probably amazing. Harushige can only laugh, but at least he finally knows who the leader of the strongest party is right now. Or are they really the strongest? Currently at Shinjuku's dungeon floor 90, Leon is a far cry from the confident image he has on TV. Now he's on his knees with a broken sword, banged up armor, and scared for his life as he stares at the giant pair of legs before him. Standing before their party is the 3-headed monster, a Shura ogre, wielding 6 blades. The monster brings down one of his swords right into Leon, only for Sakurako to block it in the last minute. She tells him to move up, given how everybody's got their hands full, but their party leader is a scared mess who remained glued to the floor out of fear. Sakurako clicks her tongue in annoyance, while their mage suggests they fall back since they can't handle this right now. Sakurako barks at Leon again to get up since they need to pull back, but the very idea of retreat seems foreign to him. Sakurako instructs their mage, Mika, to prep the escape skill, when Leon suddenly cuts in and tells them that it won't work. He had to spell out to them that they're the Absolute Knights, the strongest party there is. If they retreat now, then it would damage their reputation. But Sakurako fires back that this isn't the time to worry about that. As she looks back to answer him, one of the blades swiftly comes down to cut her, but thankfully her reflexes save her as she blocks the attack in time. She swats the enemy's sword, and that's when she notices that her weapon is close to shattering. She calls Adachi and tells him to grab Leon. The latter quickly does as she instructed, carrying their leader over his shoulder despite Leon trying to kick reason against her. But Sakurako is sure they're going to retreat. Meanwhile, she gets into position, saying she'll do it just as the Ashura ogre starts attacking her. Despite the monster being much bigger, Sakurako managed to block its attack and use this chance to leap high in the air to execute her technique, Sakura Setsubu, Cherry Blossom Snow Dance, slashing the ogre in multiple places. The monster stands still, waiting for its body to heal while Sakurako is determined to finish this. She can take it down. Again, she leaps high in the air, determined to deliver the finishing blow, only for her weapon to shatter upon coming in contact with the ogre's skin. With her in mid-air, the monster was about to slice her in half, but she was much faster, putting some distance between them. With that, she tells the ogre that she'll repay this debt one day, and makes her escape. The next day, news spread quickly of the Absolute Knight's defeat at the hands of the floor boss, the Ashura ogre. Currently, Harushige is in the middle of taking down a knight-like monster, which is a pretty easy feat now that he's level 41. Makoto is with him, fighting alongside our guy, and like him, Makoto also boosted in ranks because she's now level 40. After taking down the monster, they head back to the guild, where the familiar guild rep hands them the result of their appraisals. They politely take it, but before they could see the results, Harushige is distracted by the commotion around the guild. He can't help but mention this to the guild rep. Feels like the guild's been noisy lately, huh? Well, about that, she lowers her voice to a hush, but what for? The topic of their conversation just walked in. It's Sakurako, with blood splattered over her body. What's more, she's also carrying something huge on her back, causing the other explorers to part like the Red Sea as she makes her way to the counter. She drops her haul with a clang, then proceeds to tell the rep that she needs an appraisal. That's when she noticed Harushige and Makoto were standing on the side. Oh, were they still mid-process? Harushige shakes his hand, saying they finished just now. But Sakurako continues to hold his gaze, and from the looks of it, the man is clearly intimidated. So after what seems like an eternity, he asks if there's anything else. Sakurako finally lowers her gaze. It's nothing, she says. She turns her attention back to the guild rep, saying she'll come again tonight for the final paperwork and the payout, then leaves the guild. Everyone makes sure to keep their distance from her as she does so. Harushige knows her. Wasn't she a member of the Absolute Knights? The guild rep tells him that her name is Sakurako Kokonoe. He is right though, she used to be a member of the Absolute Knights. Wait, what does she mean by used to? The guild rep explains that after the Shinjuku dungeon incident, Sakurako left the party. From then on, she's been going solo and hunting boss monsters in unclaimed dungeons every day. When a floor boss is defeated, the dungeonized facility reverts to its original state, which is pretty helpful to the guild, but there's a thing. Harushige asks if there's a problem with that, so the guild rep continues that some explorers who fish for those areas for regular farming are complaining. Even she can't help but complain now, given how all the paperwork and the red tape are such a hassle. Hell, even she knows she shouldn't be saying that out loud. Harushige and Makoto kept quiet, trying so hard not to judge her. Harushige and Makoto left the guild after that. But it made him think of Sakurako. He can't believe she would quit a party that was called the Strongest. So even the strong have their own reasons to do what they did. He was so deep in thought that he didn't hear that Makoto was actually calling him. Oh, what's up? He says. Makoto asks in turn if it's okay for him to accompany her to pick a new weapon. He's more than thrilled to. In fact, there's a shop he wants to show her. Ooh, is this the shop that made Harushige's weapon? He says that it is so, and adds that when he picked up his weapon, the shop owner told him that she'd take care of his friend's weapons too. Harushige and Makoto walk to the familiar alleyway of Anaguma's shop, with him leading the way. Soon they see it and enter the shop, but are surprised to see that Ayumu has a customer. Why, it's Sakurako again. She also remembers them as the pair from the guild earlier. There was an awkward pause while Ayumu found the scene all so amusing. Would you look at that? Her favorites actually know each other. And from the looks of it, today's customer is that young lady beside Harushige. Makoto answers her, while Ayumu is already busy assessing her from where she's seated. Ayumu notices that she uses a bow, and from the looks of it, she's been using it for a while now. Good, it suits her well. However, Ayumu had already promised another weapon to someone else just now, so she can't get to hers for a little while just yet. Her shoulders droop when she hears that, but she understands. Meanwhile, Sakurako is still staring at them, at Harushige specifically from where she's standing. He can't figure her out, so the three of them remain standing where they are. Sakurako unsheathes her katana an inch, then emits a powerful haki to both Harushige and Makoto. He instinctively tries to block it off from Makoto, even though he has no idea what Sakurako is up to. The latter is equally surprised by what he did before sheathing her sword fully. Ayumu tells her to stop it. Sakurako shouldn't mess with her favorites. Okay, now both Harushige and Makoto are confused. Sakurako apologizes. She didn't mean to be hostile, she just wanted to test them out a little. Wait, what, test them? Sakurako smiles and tells Ayumu to put the order for her weapon on hold. Eh? Makoto perks up upon hearing that. Is that really okay? Sure it is, she says, but in exchange she wants to join their party. Eh? The next day at Shinjuku Dungeon, Harushige and Makoto stand waiting for Sakurako. While waiting, the two can't wrap their heads around why the latter would say something like that. You see, yesterday at the Anaguma shop, Sakurako told Harushige to meet up with her without any explanations. Well, Harushige says they should just chalk it up to Sakurako having a keen sense of things like this. She's a seasoned fighter, so there must be some fighter's angle they can't see. Anyway, since Sakurako will be joining them today, they should be able to farm more efficiently. Makoto agrees, and more importantly, they also need to pay off her new weapon. Her new weapon is called Amano Makakoyumi and has a few nifty skills. It can auto-repair, correct itself in both short and long range, and it has no sway. Harushige asks how she feels about the weapon, and honestly, Makoto hasn't tried it yet. But what she can say is that the bow is pretty light and fits right in her hands. That's good enough for him to hear. Just then, they hear Sakurako's voice apologizing for making them wait. This time, she's no longer wearing the hakama from yesterday. Instead, she's wearing the same thing she wore the first time Harushige saw her. Speaking of Harushige, the poor 40-year-old is about to combust, not knowing how to react to her fit, so Sakurako had to tell them that this is her battle gear. That instantly shut him up, but not Makoto though. The youngest cries that Sakurako is wearing pretty light armor. Shouldn't she be wearing protective gear? The latter says it's unnecessary, she just needs to make sure she won't get hit. Spoken like a true professional. Anyway, clothing fits aside, she also wants the two to call her by her first name, leaving both of them puzzled. They didn't have to ask why because Sakurako tells them that she simply doesn't like formalities. From now on, she'll also be calling them by their first names. It's not like they have any choice, so Harushige easily agrees, while Makoto only stares at him for a beat before pulling his shirt, asking if she can call him by his first name too. Of course she could. That instantly lifts her mood, so she suggests Harushige also call him by her first name. The trio heads straight to floor 31. From what Sakurako knows about the two, Harushige is level 48 while Makoto is level 44. If they're at that level, reaching floor 40 shouldn't be too hard for them. If anything, they won't stop until they reach that. The two agree, and that's all Sakurako needs. Suddenly, a large snake appears out of the blue, but Sakurako tells them she'll handle it. Huh? Harushige was about to ask what she was about to do, but she only smirked and told him that she would show them how to do it. The snake suddenly bared its fangs and went straight to Sakurako for the kill, but it only managed to bite the ground she was standing on a moment earlier. "You're in my range," she says to the monster. It opens its fangs to bite her again, but this time Sakurako goes for the kill and counters the monster, drawing the katana so fast that she already sheathed it before the snake could even feel what happened. Still, she's not pleased with her performance. She should have used something flashier. A second later, the snake flops with its head separated from its body, dead. She looks at her work, unimpressed with the execution. Then there's Harushige and Makoto, who both have their jaws hanging on the floor. Did that suit their tastes? She asks. Given the state of the monster, of course, they are. Makoto also takes this chance to ask a question that's been bugging her mind. Why did Sakurako leave the Absolute Knights? And why did she join their party? Why them? Sakurako walks ahead and says she'll answer one at a time. First, the reason she left the Absolute Knights is that the party has no future, that's all there is to it. She continues that the party's leader, Leon Kanzaki, is nothing but a paper tiger. From the looks of it, Sakurako thinks the dude probably leveled up by grinding weak monsters. He's always fighting down and never up. He has no mindset for real threats. So even when faced with an enemy he could beat by giving it all, his legs gave out. Yesterday, Sakurako felt it in her guts that Harushige and Makoto aren't like that. She shares her assessment of the two, of how they go all in and that they've been through hell. Even the tiny killing intent she released at the Anaguma shop yesterday was enough to elicit a reaction from them. She stops to look back at the two, thinking in her head that there's something about Harushige. It's as if he has something beyond level or experience. Sakurako feels that he's hiding some kind of trump card. Plus, there's the fact that Ayumu called him one of his favorites too. Could he have a unique skill? As a martial artist, Sakurako has a dream to become stronger with no limits. She wants to clear floor 90 and face stronger monsters to refine herself. That is her ultimate dream. For that to happen, she needs comrades with the same resolve. Comrades who will chase strength with her and push past their limits. Sakurako just knows it, she can see it in their eyes. And with both of them on her side, they can master the path of the warrior. And that's the real reason why she wanted to join them. Well, she thinks she got a little too fired up with her speech, but whatever. Harushige and Makoto exchange glances before he finally speaks up and admits that the two of them are not aiming for the deep floors. They just need to make enough money to cover their living expenses. There was a pregnant pause before what they said finally registered on Sakurako's mind. The two stood staring at her shell-shocked face for a prolonged silence before she finally tried to save face. They shouldn't worry about it, really. She doesn't mind if they aren't aiming for the deep floors. For now, they should continue moving. They'll just cross that bridge when they get there. Sooner or later they'll conquer the floor, yeah? For now, they'll move together as a party. Harushige and Makoto look more anxious now than ever. What that girl just said made them worried. At Shinjuku Dungeon's floor 40, Harushige and Makoto are focused on the enemy in front of them. A giant crab monster. The beast slams its pincer right where the two were standing, and they easily evade the attack. Harushige calls on his trusted slimes Sura Ikuro, Jiro, and Saburo. In the blink of an eye, the slimes got into place and stopped the monster from moving. With the monster held in place, both Harushige and Makoto use this chance to launch a joint attack, killing the monster as they do so. Fatality! Sakurako commends them for their technique. It's not bad. Harushige thanks her for the praise, but for her, there's actually been something bothering her for a while now, looking at one of the slimes. So she asks Harushige why he doesn't tame any more monsters. Didn't he tell her before that he calls the skill World Tame? Well, why not use that skill more? For one, Harushige has high control precision and shared experience. Plus, the skill works on both humans and monsters, along with higher level targets. From these alone, these are all upsides to her. Well, actually, there's something Harushige hasn't told her yet. For starters, World Tame burns a huge amount of SP on cast. If he uses it on someone stronger, then he'd be dead weight for a while. What's more, there's a delay between activation and when control kicks in. From what he gathered, the stronger the target is, the longer the delay for his skill to activate. Most importantly, World Tame can't be cancelled. At least with the slimes, he can sneak them along with him. But if they're bigger, and if he had more, then that would be troublesome. As far as Harushige knows, everyone he has used it on so far probably still accepts his orders. Since they're far away, he doesn't seem to share XP with them. Lastly, that's just not how Harushige rolls. He doesn't like forcing people to obey even if they're bad guys. As much as possible, he doesn't want to rely on World Tame. Both girls stare at him, but only Makoto is smiling. Sakurako starts muttering under her breath. Cast, cost, and effect delay. Well, if that's the case, then she volunteers to have World Tame used on her. Both Harushige and Makoto are floored. Makoto even starts stuttering about the release, but the latter calmly says that she's aware of the downsides. See, this just also means that they don't fully understand the skill. They may not be aiming for the deep floors, but there will be a real danger sooner or later. If Harushige's skill is a mystery, then that's troublesome. When it counts, he needs to know what World Tame can and can't do, and how far it reaches. So, it's much better to test it on her now, his party member. What Sakurako said makes sense, but the latter quickly adds that they shouldn't test it here. For now, she suggests they head back to the surface today. As for the no release, Sakurako tells them they shouldn't worry too much about it. She has an idea on how to deal with that. Since Sakurako pretty much got all the bases covered, Harushige agrees with her suggestion. What she said is true after all, there's still a lot they don't know about his skill. So when the time comes, he needs to be ready. The next day, the trio is at the upper layer training floor of the Shinjuku dungeon. Makoto didn't even know this place existed. Since skills and weapons are banned on the surface, Sakurako says they can test Harushige's skills here. Alright, first of all, they need to set the conditions. Right now, Harushige is level 48, while Sakurako is level 139. There's a gap of 91 levels between them. To add, she also has the skill Mental Resistance. There are a couple of things she's wondering about his skill, like how much SP it consumes and how long the delay is when Harushige uses World Tame in her current state. Harushige puts his palm up and activates Tame. His SP of 1503 instantly went down to 773. Yeah, he expected this much. This skill really drains a ton, but the big question is, did it work? Sakurako remains unmoving, staring back at him. She checks her palm because, it has no effect? Did it fail? Now this made Harushige ponder as well. The last time he used it on someone stronger, the skill took effect in about 10 seconds. Makoto points out that they're past the 30-second mark already. Sakurako is a bit disappointed. World Tame is not an all-powerful skill after all, She thinks that maybe it's her mental resistance or the huge gap that hindered the skill from taking effect. In her mind, she wondered if Harushige's skill would work on the Ashura Ogre too. Makoto, for one, is actually relieved that it didn't work. Because if it did, someone as gorgeous as Sakurako would be stuck doing whatever Harushige wants, right? Well, that's kind of the idea. But when Harushige said the words, absolute obedience, something clicked inside Sakurako. While Harushige asks if Makoto really thinks that he'd do that to Sakurako, their youngest replies that she knows he wouldn't do that to the latter. Harushige can only laugh it off, saying he's not the type to order anyone around. To his surprise, Sakurako goes in for a hug. What the? She starts whining about what Harushige said. He mustn't say things like he won't give her orders. Harushige should command her as he sees fit. And to put the final nail in the coffin, Sakurako even calls him my lord. Both Makoto and Harushige are absolutely horrified at this clingy version of Sakurako. Well, that just confirms the results of World Tame. Despite the significant level difference between Harushige and Sakurako, along with her mental resistance skill, World Tame still takes effect. The only difference this time is that it takes roughly a minute to kick in. What's more, they also learned that commands can still be given during that delay period. So his careless muttering of absolute obedience command actually worked. As proof, there's Sakurako saying he's correct. Ugh, can she not call him my lord? Harushige is somewhat weirded out, though it's making him blush too. Eh? Why not? Sakurako whines. Even Makoto's getting more worried about how close Sakurako is acting toward Harushige. Our hero, on the other hand, wonders whether having mental resistance might make his skill work differently. The trio leaves the dungeon and heads straight to the Adventurer's Alley. Given Sakurako's condition, Harushige ordered her to act as normally as possible. Anyway, about removing the effect of World Tame, she plans to use a dispel item. Harushige turns to her, echoing the term. Sakurako explains it's an item that removes curses and abnormal status effects. She doesn't have one on her right now, which is why they're at the Adventurer's Alley to buy some. Harushige didn't know about them. So, how much does that thing cost anyway? She tells him that they're more expensive than regular potions, but it's still manageable. No matter which shop they visit, she says they cost around 800,000 to 900,000 yen. Bro, that's insane! Even Makoto finds the item pretty expensive. Apparently that doesn't exist in Sakurako's vocabulary, because as long as they can hunt on floor 80 for a bit, they'll have enough saved up. Well, that was the plan. Until every shop they walked into apologized, they're out of dispel stones. Not only are the shops not receiving any shipments lately, but supplies have sold out pretty fast since they're rare items. The last shop even told them that they don't have any idea when they'll get more in. Ultimately, Sakurako can only apologize to Harushige. This is her idea to begin with, so this is all her fault. She never expected every shop to be sold out. Strangely enough, this never happens. Harushige doesn't take it to heart, it's not really her fault after all. Still, this doesn't cancel the fact that they're in trouble. Makoto says that at this rate, who knows when they can break Sakurako's tame. Sakurako herself says she's fine with staying like this, but Harushige, like Makoto, wants to get the skill undone ASAP. After a beat, Sakurako shares that there is actually one way to get a dispel item other than waiting for the shops. She'll just get one from the dungeon herself. Dispel items are rare drops on the 80th floor of the Shinjuku dungeon. That's why they're so expensive and difficult to find. She's aware that they're a newly formed party, but for now, she needs to leave and get the dispel item. Before she could finish speaking, Harushige stopped her. He wanted to come with her. This test was her idea for the party, and as the leader, it's Harushige's responsibility. Plus, it's his skill that caused this mess in the first place. Makoto chimes in. She's going too! She's part of the group too, so she's coming along. They can't just leave her behind. But Sakurako tells them both. No. Right now, she believes they can't handle floor 80 monsters. With that said, she can't guarantee that she could protect them both on her own, so she can't let Makoto come with them. However, if they train until they can handle floor 80, then the three of them can tackle the dungeon under that condition. So deal? Harushige and Makoto couldn't agree fast enough, they're on. So first, they level up. Then they push for floor 80, with the mission of acquiring that dispel item from floor 80. Alright, as long as they don't push too hard and stay safe, all of them are game. Makoto even lets out a little cheer of excitement. Little did they know that someone had been secretly listening to their conversation. It's Leon! He's been eavesdropping all along, annoyed to see Sakurako with her new party mates. Meanwhile, at Shinjuku Dungeon's deepest floor, the powerful Ashura ogre is actually kneeling before a little girl sitting on a throne. She is snickering, knowing that someone up there has it. So she awaits this certain someone who possesses the Dominion skill to come to her. So, to give you a general idea of the Shinjuku Dungeon, here's a layered map. On the surface, this is where the guild manages the area around the dungeons. Right below it are the training floors. These are large, maintained levels that adventurers can freely use as long as they file a request with the guild. Below that are the upper levels. This is where relatively weak monsters can be found, and most of the areas have already been explored. After that are the deep levels, which start from floor 80 downwards. Dispel items are sometimes found around floor 90, and these items are well sought after since they remove all curses and status ailments. There are still many unexplored zones here. If you defeat the dungeon boss on the deepest floor, then the dungeon returns to its original form. The Ashura Ogre is located on floor 90, and it remains undefeated. Now we turn our attention to the training floor of Shinjuku Dungeon's upper levels. Sakurako and Harushige are in the middle of training, clashing swords. They're at a standstill until he goes for it and leaps into the air, taking a big swing. While behind Sakurako, Makoto sneakily fires her arrow at the latter. Sakurako anticipated her move and easily evaded the incoming arrow by ducking while she raised her sword to block Harushige's incoming swing. As expected, Sakurako overpowers Harushige, disarming him efficiently. From this exchange, she gives a few pointers to them. For Harushige, she tells him that his swing is 2 seconds late. He needs to widen his steps when he commits. Our hero promises to work on it while Sakurako tells Makoto that her stance after she shoots is a mess. What's more, she's also full of openings, of which the latter acknowledges. They've only been training for a few days, but honestly, Sakurako is pretty proud since these two have really good instincts. Honestly, both Harushige and Makoto are not too sure. But yeah, they just rolled with it. According to Sakurako, fighting monsters is all about party coordination, which is why she's been drilling them both together. If they can handle this much, then it's fine. They should be able to start aiming for floor 80 in earnest. That pleased our original duo. Yes, they can finally get to challenge floor 80. Harushige is intent on finding a dispel item on the said floor so they can finally undo his Tame on Sakurako. Again, Sakurako tells him that she's fine like this, but that's a hard no for Makoto. The next morning at the central square in Explorer's Alley, Harushige is the first to arrive at their meeting point. Yesterday, they discussed that both Makoto and Harushige should stock up on their supplies, while Sakurako will pick up the weapon she ordered from the Anaguma shop. They need to be fully prepared since this is going to be rougher than anything they've done so far. Just recalling their conversation makes him worried. Floor 80. Looking back, it was just recently that he got laid off work, had nothing better to do, and then ended up becoming an explorer. Honestly, it's not like he had so much left to lose. Then there's Sakurako, who used to be in the #1 party, Absolute Knights. She's got overwhelming strength and experience behind her, and it's not like she started out on floor 80. Compared to her, Makoto is different. The latter works to support her family. In Harushige's mind, he shouldn't be putting her into this kind of danger, and yet Makoto is the one who decided to come with them. All this pondering got Harushige talking to himself about how Makoto is someone he needs to protect. As he said this, Makoto happened to arrive just in time to hear it. He turns just in time to see her jaw drop, casually greeting their youngest with a good morning. Makoto, for one, can't believe what he just said. What did he just say? Confused, Harushige said, "Good morning, but she's not talking about that." Our hero feigns ignorance, further exposing himself to Makoto's insistence. Finally, Sakurako arrives and tells her that it's too early for her to be this loud. Harushige ignores Makoto's intense stare and greets Sakurako, and the latter suggests they should all go. At the Anaguma shop, Sakurako finally has her hands on her newest weapon, Sakura Ichimonji. Ayumu tells her that it's her shop's masterpiece, while Sakurako checks the weapon intently. Surprisingly, it has 8 stars, and there's also that mysterious ability unlocked. What's that supposed to be? Ayumu is equally shocked because that skill wasn't there when she forged it. Maybe it awakened when Sakurako picked it up, no? As far as Sakurako knows, it's not a debuff. Ayumu then asks her if she wants to take it for a test swing, but no. Sakurako already likes it as it is. With this, she can finally take the Ashura Ogre's head. She's so fired up at that idea that both Harushige and Makoto back up a little. Sakurako's eyes are kind of scary right now. Speaking of the two, Ayumu looks at them for a beat before addressing all 3 of them. They're her regulars, so if she loses them, her shop would take a big hit. It's not really her style to kick up a fuss over her customers, but she did tell them to come back alive. Both Makoto and Harushige promise to do so, while Ayumu finally leaves them be. Alright, once they finish the rest of their shopping, they should head to Shinjuku Dungeon. Their shopping didn't take long, since soon the trio was back at it, cutting one centipede monster after another. Their defense is pretty tight. Hence, they were able to move forward and take breaks whenever they needed to. As soon as everyone's energized, they resume dungeon exploration until finally they reach floor 70. Here they decided to camp for the night. So far, they've spent 2 full days inside the Shinjuku dungeon. Harushige does a wellness check and asks Makoto how she's doing. The latter answers how she just feels a bit heavy, but other than that, nothing major. Sakurako is not surprised. They've been stuck in this cave-type dungeon for a while now, after all. It's only natural for the fatigue to build up. At that, Makoto apologizes for slowing them down, but Harushige assures her that it's fine. If anything, she should rest up nice and easy. Keeping everyone alive is the top priority. Sakurako agrees, plus their current pace isn't so bad. Suddenly, they hear a familiar voice say that he has finally caught up. All 3 turn in the direction of the voice and see Leon and the rest of the Absolute Knights walking up to them. Sakurako becomes wary, asking her former partymate what he wants. What does he want, huh? Isn't it obvious? Not a second later, the mage casts a spell instantly binding Harushige and Makoto in chains. Leon is here to take Sakurako back to his party, the Absolute Knights. With both Harushige and Makoto bound in chains, the desperate Leon wants to cut a deal with Sakurako. If she wants the two to live, then she needs to return to him, to his party. Makoto and Harushige remain quiet, but all Sakurako could say to her former partymate is how he has sunk so low. Leon? Sunk? She shouldn't get the wrong idea. If anything, he's actually doing this for her. A woman as strong and beautiful as her deserves an equally strong and beautiful man at her side, someone like Leon. He stretches his hand out to her, saying that the two of them standing together look just right, especially when the cameras are on them. Obviously, Sakurako is not impressed, because looks? Come on, that's the only thing he has always cared about, always nothing but appearances. If anything, she tells him that maybe he should grow a spine instead before he starts running from the Ashura ogre. Suddenly all the poise and finesse from Leon are gone. He clicks his tongue and reasons out that they only pulled back that time because they're low on supplies. He's the strongest there is, and when he's properly prepped like today, some random floor boss is nothing against him. Yeah man, sure, whatever helps you sleep at night. Even the others know that's not true, as evidenced by the awkward silence and stares that followed. Harushige checks the other two members of the Absolute Knights, Megumi Katori, level 96, and Lee Dissen, level 90. They're both level 990 and above, so there's no way Harushige can tame them all. He doesn't have the SP or time to do so. He's already thinking that if this turns into a fight, then none of them will make it out clean. Plus, they're all strong. Now, it just leaves him wondering if he should try it now or not. Meanwhile, Leon keeps running his mouth, becoming even pushier toward Sakurako. What's it gonna be? Does she want the two to die, or will she willingly come back to him? You really are pathetic, no? Harushige tells Leon, making him stop dead in his tracks. Just what the hell did this old man say? Our hero doubles down, saying how Leon has the gall to call himself the strongest, and yet here he is, losing his nerve the second he loses one member. This time, Harushige stands, claiming that if Leon were actually strong, then he could take his current party and fight the floor boss right now, right? Leon tries to shut him down, but Harushige is persistent. Leon can glare all he wants, but without Sakurako on his side, what can he actually do? Or maybe the truth is that Leon is a lot weaker than he pretends. No? Ooh, that struck a nerve. With both groups silent, Harushige continues how Leon is all talk and just needs someone to take down the floor boss for him. Finally, the lunatic leader snaps. Shut up! He yells and stabs Harushige with his sword. The latter grits his teeth in pain while Makoto calls out to him. Then there's Sakurako, who already has her blade up to Leon's neck, oozing excessive killing intent. This Leon dude really is a bastard. But before she could do anything, Harushige stopped her. Instead of apologizing or anything else, he continues mocking Leon. Did the leader of the Absolute Knights really think a half-hearted hit like that could kill him? If that's all he's got, then it's no wonder the floor boss took them down pretty easily. Now Leon's even more annoyed that Harushige is still running his mouth. He sinks his sword deeper into our hero, causing tremendous pain for our old man. This time, Leon goes off about how Harushige is only alive because he's being kept as a hostage. He's only breathing because Leon is letting him breathe? Did he really think Leo, the strongest in this world, can't even face a boss without Sakurako? He's the strongest, for God's sake. It's only him, no one else. Hell, if he feels like it, he ought to. Well, he didn't get to finish what he was saying because Harushige has one challenge for him. To prove it. Go prove it by killing the boss on floor 90. That Ashura ogre he's so scared of. If he could do that, then Harushige promises to acknowledge him, and he'll back off Sakurako. Wait a minute, is Leon hearing this right? This old man wants him to beat the Ashura ogre? Again, Harushige taunts him, saying that maybe it's already too much for Leon, no? That smug talk earns him another stabbing in his leg this time. Ha, too much. There's nothing too much for the likes of Leon. Fine, Harushige should stay here while he goes off and crushes the Ashura ogre to make the former admit that he's the strongest. With that, Leon stomps off, ordering the other two to move. What else could they do but follow their leader? Harushige finally collapses face first on the ground, muttering about how they could have at least taken the chain off first. Sakurako skillfully cuts it off, with him thanking her for the help. Makoto, who is already free of her binds, also starts shaking him and asking if he's okay. Worried sick. He needs a potion. He needs to drink a potion. You shouldn't shake him, Makoto. Anyway, Harushige did drink a potion that instantly healed his wounds. While still recovering, Sakurako firmly tells him that he shouldn't throw that kind of provocation so casually. Seriously, her heart can't take it. He just laughs it off. But Makoto didn't even know he was doing it on purpose. For a moment there, she thought he just snapped. Well, in his defense, he thought that was the best way to avoid a full-out fight and get everyone out in one piece. That may be true. And ultimately, she admits that it only cost them a few potions. But here's the thing. That doesn't mean he gets to carry all the risk alone. Makoto agrees. He's the one who said that everyone getting out safely comes first, including him. Both girls look at him earnestly, and yeah, he admits that they're right. Still, he's the party leader, which basically makes him their boss. And a boss's job is to protect his people. It might sound weird coming from him, but he's pretty proud of being able to protect the two of them. Makoto just doesn't want him to do something like that again, and he promises he won't. Sakurako, on the other hand, is reminded of a distant memory. What Harushige said just now is awfully similar to what her older brother said, that it's a big brother's job to protect his little sister. As long as Sakurako's fine, then he's also fine. She smiles and tells him that he's quite the strange man. But you know, Makoto has every right to be worried. There's a chance that Sakurako could walk away from their party after this, especially since Harushige gave his word to Leon. Harushige apologizes, and honestly, that just slipped out of his mouth. Sakurako herself is not too worried, though. If that ever happens, she's determined to fight Leon with everything she has this time. For all she knows, her place is here, with Harushige and Makoto. That paints a smile on our hero's face. Well, that's enough adventuring for today. He says they should wrap it up and continue tomorrow, and both girls agree. The next day, the trio heads straight to Shinjuku Dungeon's floor 89. Sakurako finds a chest, hoping it contains what they need. Too bad, what's inside is orichalcum, some kind of unknown metal used for forging gear. That dispel item just won't spawn, huh? Sakurako says that's because item spawns are random. It's not really something they can control. Harushige suggests they get a move on and find the next spot. As they walk through the dark corridors, he can't help but overthink some things. They're already on floor 89, just one step away from the floor boss. Now it got him wondering if they should push their luck a little more or just cut their losses and head back. What should they do now? Suddenly, Sakurako suggests they take a little break. He frowns. He could still keep going, but Sakurako is firm. She points out that this floor isn't safe enough for him to be wandering around while spaced out. Oh, she's right. So they decide to take a break right then and there. As they sit around the fire, Sakurako votes that they head back up. The search for the thing they needed has been rather unsuccessful, and sure, they may not have gotten the dispel item, but what they got will turn into a nice profit. More importantly, they learned that both Harushige and Makoto can handle the 80s floors, so they'll just gear up again and try next time. If there's anything that worries her, it's the idea that someone could clear the dungeon before them. Oh, Makoto asks if what she knows is correct, that if a dungeon gets cleared, it goes back to being a regular facility. Sakurako confirms that she is correct, but forget the dungeon boss for a while. As far as she knows, no one's going to beat the floor boss ahead, which is the Ashura Ogre. Makoto is still worried since Leon and the Absolute Knights are on their way to kill it right now. Sakurako only huffs. She knows for sure a coward like that will never bring down the Ashura Ogre. If she says it like that, then the Ashura Ogre must be really strong, huh? Well, Sakurako admits that it's strong, but it's not unbeatable. If the Absolute Knight had actually worked together back then, and if Leon hadn't chickened out, then they could have finished it for sure. But no, even without someone like that, Sakurako should have just killed the monster by herself back then with her own strength. Suddenly, a piercing scream echoed across the floor. That was Leon's voice. Harushige sits for a bit before standing abruptly. Sakurako asks him immediately what he's planning to do, but before he can answer, she tells him this. They don't owe those people a rescue. Harushige turns to her and shares something about himself. When he became an explorer, he made a promise to himself that in this new life as an explorer, he would only do what he wanted and wouldn't do what he didn't want to do. Sure, he may not owe that Leon Kanzaki guy a thing, but turning back on someone he might have been able to save is something he doesn't want to do. Both Makoto and Sakurako only stare at him, so he quickly adds that this is something he's deciding on his own. Both ladies can stay here, but Makoto jumps at the opportunity and says she'll go with him. The only reason she's still here is because of Harushige after all. Sakurako also stands, saying that having Leon owe them might pay off later. Harushige appreciates them, as he apologizes and thanks them in the same breath. With that, they hurry to floor 90. Along the way, Sakurako tells him that their goal is to pull the Absolute Knights out of there, but she clarifies that she's Harushige's party member first. So if she decides that it's too dangerous, then his safety comes first, his and Makoto's. He acknowledges where she's coming from and thanks her. That just made her smile as they continued running. Soon enough, they reached floor 90, but what they saw left them stunned. What the hell? Both Megumi and Lee were on the floor, along with the Ashura Ogre. Leon is on his knees, and who's that? There's a bloodied blonde-haired girl in pigtails, snickering upon seeing new faces. She grabs Leon's right arm and drops him on the floor, the latter slamming face first on the floor. There's a girl. No, that's not it. Just what kind of pressure is this that they're feeling? Sensing their fear spiking, the girl asks if they're scared. She sighs, disappointed because humans really are a bunch of cowards, no? Just then, Harushige and the other two finally notice Leon's bloody right arm. It was on the floor. She cut it off him. Sakurako calls out to Harushige and he already knows what to do. He uses appraise to figure out who this girl is. Not a moment later, he gains access to her info. It says her name is Elvarna, a silver dragon. Harushige pales because just look at those stats. She's got mental magic, magic nullification, on top of being a level 241. Sakurako shares his shock. This is also her first time seeing a humanoid monster with that level and that kind of pressure. It's on a whole different level from the Ashura Ogre. At the mention of the Ashura Ogre, Elvarna turns to the dead creature behind her. That thing? She was just messing around with it to kill some time, yet it ended up like that. She did that just to kill some time, huh? Anyway, Elvarna says she did the same with all those lying brats on the floor, referring to the Absolute Knights. She tells them how every last one of their kind is weak, both body and soul. Hell, it wasn't even worth the climb. At the mention of climbing, this just confirms Harushige's suspicion that this Elvarna is a floor boss from deeper down. Wait, floor boss? She starts laughing. She's far above something that small. She's the master of this dungeon. With that, she unveils her true form, a horrifying silver dragon indeed. Now then, she senses nothing from the absolute knights, but she knows it is inside one of them. Well, let's have a look at it. She wants to see it. She wants to see the ruler's power. With that, she raises her claw, ready to strike down Harushige's party. Elvarna's claw slams down on the ground, instantly causing mayhem as it crashes and destroys the floor. As she raises her claw, she realizes that the trio is nowhere to be seen. Then she turns to her right and sees that Harushige had carried Makoto to safety. He asks if she's okay, and she answers her thanks in reply. Behind Elvarna, the silhouette of Sakurako is seen, her sword drawn and ready to strike. The silver dragon turns to see her incoming assailant had the nerve to laugh. Ha! She finds her quite intriguing. Sakurako unleashes her Kokono-style first dance Cherry Moon, hitting the dragon right in the face. From below, Makoto fires her hound arrow, hitting Elvarna in the neck. Harush, who's waiting below her, also strikes her neck with flying blade strike. They wait for the smoke to settle and soon reveal Elvarna in her humanoid form. She's cackling, enjoying the battle. Good, she's enjoying this. Now she's eager to see what they'll do next and how they'll show it to her. Their attacks have no effect. Makoto can't believe it. Unlike those two, Harushige is deep in regret. This is his mistake. Because he tried to save Leon and the others, now he has put both Makoto and Sakurako in danger. He snaps out of his thoughts upon hearing Sakurako call his name. She asks him how many minutes he needs, how many minutes until he can tame that thing. She and Makoto will buy him time until Tame kicks in. Despite this, he still hesitates. No, he can't put all three of them in any more danger. He's already planning on becoming the decoy, so the two of them can escape when Sakurako calls out to him again. This time, she smiles as she tells him to do what he only wants to do, and not do anything that he doesn't want. It's the same for taming. She and Makoto are here out of their own free will. Makoto smiles too, saying all three of them should get out of this alive. If they were to return as the three of them, then he has no other choice but to tame that thing. So how much time do they need to stall? To say he's shocked by these girls' belief in him is an understatement. With shaking fists, he tells them that he needs 3 minutes. Within 3 minutes, he should be able to tame it. Well, that's fine by Sakurako. With that, she signals Makoto that it's go time. Elvarna starts laughing again, excited to see the two running up to her. So they have finally resolved themselves, no? She's pretty excited upon seeing the look on their faces. Sakurako and Makoto both give him the signal, and with that, he activates Tame. Elvarna feels a certain power zapped into her, then grins. She understands now. Suddenly, she turns into her dragon form again as she finally knows who it is, the one who possesses the domination skill. Elvarna lets out a mighty roar. Finally, she knows the one with the domination skill. She unleashes a fiery breath directly at the trio, and as soon as the smoke settles, she notices Harushige avoided the attack by hanging from the ceiling, all thanks to Sura Ichiro. Meanwhile, the two ladies quickly get to work, drawing Elvarna's attention to themselves. Her opponent is them. Makoto fires her arrow, but based on the magic circle attached to it, this is no normal one. Sakurako is hell-bent on buying Harushige 3 minutes until his tame skill activates. As the arrow drew near the dragon, it let out a blinding light. It's a flash. Elvarna closes her eyes on instinct and starts thrashing her tail around, annoyed at their tactics. In the middle of doing so, Sakurako uses this chance to sneak up on her to launch her Kokono-style second dance, Cherry Blossom Flurry. She successfully injures the dragon's eye while Makoto aims below. This time she fires an explosion arrow right into Elvarna's torso. Sakurako braces for another attack, hyper-aware that her body is moving better than usual. Is it because she has pushed herself to the limit? This power feels like her own body. She readies to unsheath her sword, activating Ability Release. This time she goes for Kokono-style 7th Dance, Cherry Blossom Flash. She swings right in the middle of the smoke and dust, but to her surprise she hits nothing. Huh? From her side, Elvarna appears in her human form. What the? Did she turn into a human to dodge Sakurako's attack? Elvarna hasn't fully transformed into a human, given that her hands are still those of a dragon, but she commends Sakurako for a wild swing, asking the latter if something good happened to her. Since she could not evade midair, Sakurako takes the full brunt of Elvarna's punch, with the dragon claiming that she could easily dodge Sakurako's attack with her eyes closed. Sakurako is sent flying, slamming to the ground before coughing blood. Makoto, who saw what happened, calls after her. And that moment is all Elvarna needed to sneak up from behind her. This girl had the guts to look away, eh? Looks like Makoto's got room to spare from Elvarna's perspective. Like Sakurako, she punches Makoto in the gut with her dragon hands, causing Makoto to cough up blood. Elvarna relishes in her work, belittling them for being so feeble. Harushige, who is on his knees, could only call out to his party mates. Now Elvarna turns to him. He's the last one, the man of domination. Both Sakurako and Makoto are lying on the ground, unable to do anything. In her current state, Sakurako starts wondering where she went wrong. Was she careless? Still, she hasn't seen any sign of Tame activating either. She looks over Makoto to see if the latter is alive. and that's when she notices their youngest is muttering something. Sakurako tries her best to listen intently, and that's when she finally hears what Makoto was saying. The latter was repeating her promise to her sibling that their older sister will definitely come home, much to Sakurako's shock. You see, Sakura Kokonoi had an older brother. He was an elite explorer who was very active and supported his family's dojo. What's more, he was deeply trusted by those around him. One day, Sakurako wandered inside the dungeon, and of course, it was her older brother who found her. While carrying her on his back, he asks why she snuck into the dungeon. He also lightly scolded her, saying that she would have been dead if he hadn't been there. Little Sakurako can only apologize, but she did it because she wanted to be useful to her big brother. Her older brother can only sigh, but after that, there's no harm done. After all, protecting his little sister is a big brother's job. So as long as she's safe, that's enough for him. Sakurako was proud of her strong and kind older brother. She looked up to him. To follow in his footsteps, she trained hard and became an explorer just like him. But as fate would have it, something tragic happened. Sakurako's older brother shielded her from a monster's attack, sacrificing himself in the process. As he lies dying in her arms, her older brother still smiles, reminding Sakurako of what he told her a long time ago. Protecting his little sister is a big brother's job. As long as she's safe, that's all that matters to him. Those were his last words, and Sakurako mourned his death terribly. It got her wishing that if only she were stronger. From then on, Sakurako sought to become stronger than anyone so she could protect what mattered most, training relentlessly day in and day out. She thought this was the only way to repay the life her older brother had given her. Now, back to the present. Sakurako gets up, fueled by the memory of her older brother. Elvarna notices her, surprised to see her standing. Sakurako holds Sakura Ichimonji with both hands and points it at the enemy. Harushige, who sees what's happening, asks if everything is okay since he can't see her reaction. In her mind, Sakurako notes how Harushige is just like her older brother. It wasn't his outward appearance, but they share a kindness. The kind where he'd risk his life for others. That's the very thing that moved her. As for Makoto, she has a younger brother and sister waiting for her to return. To Sakura, those two are just like the brothers she couldn't save that day. With newfound intent, Sakurako vows to protect these two. She takes a stance before thrusting straight at Elvarna. The latter already transformed her hands into dragon claws, ready to defend. Meanwhile, Sakurako finally uses Ability Unleashed, Kokonoi style 8 form Sakura Blizzard. The tip of Sakurako's blade hits Elvarna's crossed dragon forearms. But with a little more force, Sakurako manages to pierce through her enemy's defenses, her sword stabbing Elvarna straight to her chest. She didn't expect Sakurako to go this far, while our girl continues to drive her blade deeper into the dragon before pulling it out. As blood gushed out of Elvarna, her mouth started to transform into a dragon's mouth. She commends Sakurako for quite a bold move, but in doing so, it's too bad for her because she just exposed herself fully to Elvarna's range. With such close range, Sakurako fully accepts that this might be her end when suddenly an arrow flew and pierced right through Elvarna's mouth. Huh? Behind Sakurako, Makoto is up. She won't let the silver dragon lay a hand on Sakurako. This just pissed off Elvarna even more. She aggressively pulls the arrow out of her mouth, questioning the girl if she thinks this is enough to stop her. Elvarna feels a jolt and suddenly she can't move. Huh? What? Harushige is suddenly in front of her, holding Sakurako in his arms. That's 3 minutes, time's up. Before anything else, here are a couple of dungeon exploration items that are must-haves for every explorer. First, potions. There are various kinds and the starting price is 50,000 yen. They are types of medicines that restore HP and SP, with different types such as drinking, applying to wounds, or topical use. Then there's the Dispel item. Its starting price is 800,000 yen, and it's a piece of equipment that cancels the effects of skills and curses. Since there's no technology to manufacture them, and they can only be brought by explorers who venture deep into the dungeon, market circulation is pretty tight, thus making them extremely valuable. Lastly, there's the Teleportation Stone and Circle. These have a starting price of 200,000 yen. Simply put, they are a special crystal called a Teleportation Stone and a scroll with a crest. To use a Teleportation Stone in a dungeon, one must accurately draw a teleportation, and the resulting magic formation instantly returns the user to the surface. According to Sakurako, all of these can be obtained relatively cheaply, though the use of cheaply here is quite gracious in Harushige and Makoto's perspective. Anyway, back to the story. At the 90th floor of the Shinjuku dungeon, Harushige and the others treated the Absolute Knights with potions before sending them back to the surface with a teleportation circle. Unfortunately, Leon's arm won't come back, but at least all 3 of them probably won't die. With Sakurako and Makoto also healed, their current concern is that thing over there. Sakurako asks how it is, with Harushige saying it looks okay. By it, they were referring to Elvarna. Tame is functioning properly as evidenced by a glaring Elvarna who's sitting on the floor. Harushige had her follow several orders. Do not harm humans and do not transform into a dragon without permission. The three of them stand before her, with Harushige asking if she could answer his questions as honestly as possible. Harushige addresses the silver dragon Elvana, asking about the words she spoke during battle. What does dominator mean? She spoke as if she knew all about the dominance skill. Why was the domination skill even known? To that, she starts snickering, refusing to answer and feigning ignorance. So Harushige gives her an order. Answer me. She instantly felt his power now being forced to bend to his will. With that, she begins narrating the history of the dungeon. From the moment consciousness and flesh were gained, this dungeon existed. At the same time, inside the mind, a certain phrase constantly echoed. It says, those who possess the skill of domination gather beneath the dominator. What's more, it tells them to offer up their very souls, or so it commands and proclaims. The presence of the dominator is faint but perceptible, and yet the ringing grows louder with each passing day. Elvarna, for one, absolutely refuses to serve beneath another. She believed that the ringing would stop if she could silence it, and that it would also free her. But as it turns out, this is the result. Well, at least after being subjected to Harushige's domination, the ringing has stopped. In the end, she couldn't be free, could she? All three of them only stare at her. Harushige doesn't think that she's lying too. Before they could say anything, Elvarna plops down to the dragon and tells them that they should just kill her. Not. She will not stoop down to beg for her life. Sakurako asks him what he plans to do. Our hero ponders for a bit before calling out to her again. This time he tells Elvarna, the silver dragon, that she will be their bodyguard. What? Sakurako is the first to react. What does he mean by that? Is he serious? And he tells them he is. When Elvarna was fighting, he remembered she told them that she was the dungeon boss here. So if they defeat her here, he's worried that the dungeon might disappear. If that happens, then their original goal, which is to find the dispel item, would become impossible. On the other hand, if they have Elvarna, the dungeon boss, as their bodyguard, then he thinks they can safely continue searching for the dispel item. As for worrying if it's safe, the two would just have to believe in Harushige and his domination. So how about it? There was a pause before the two finally agreed. If the boss says so, then they have no objections. Since everyone's on board, Harushige extends his hand to Elvarna, asking for her cooperation. Suddenly, she's acting a bit demure, though she still said this is humiliating for her. Now then, as much as Harushige doesn't want to use this phrase, he does so anyway. He bows his head, asking everyone to bear with a little more overtime until they find the dispel item. He still can't get the salaryman out of him, no? Just like that, the now four of them continued exploring the deeper floors of the dungeon, with Harushige's slimes in the lead. Soon, they encounter a horde of monsters glowering at them. As much as they were ready to fight, it only took one step from Elvarna for these monsters to suddenly step aside in reverence to the dungeon boss. Thanks to that, they were able to continue their exploration, looking for the dispel item. It was Makoto who called them over, and finally, they managed to get their hands on a dispel item. With the item finally in Sakurako's hand, she assesses it before finally equipping it into her body. Now that the bracelet is on Sakurako's wrist, nothing's happening. Everyone is looking at her expectantly, but nothing is happening. Harushige uses his appraisal skill to check on her stats, and it's still the same. She's still executing his command. Crap, nothing really did change. Both Sakurako and Makoto are horrified. Unlike the two, Elvarna bursts out laughing. Just what the hell is this lot trying to do? Break the domination skill? She tells them right then and there that the Dominator's power can't be undone by some cheap toy like that. What idiots! Sakurako is just about ready to cut her down if not for Makoto, who is holding her back. But Elvarna is right. In his mind, Harushige had a feeling that the curse-breaking item wouldn't work against his domination skill. That sensation when he uses Tame, omnipotence, he can sense the target's emotions and whether or not they're lying. Plus, there's also the absolute certainty that he holds their heart in his hands. Then there's that word that echoed in Elvana's mind, Dominator. With all things considered, Harushige has come to the conclusion that this skill of his might be far more terrifying than he thought. Since they're done and they now know that the curse-breaking item doesn't work, Sakurako draws a teleportation circle on the floor to return to the surface. Then she looks at Elvana, as Harushige asks the former if she will also take the dragon-turned girl to the surface. Sakurako grabs her sword ready to strike her down. Since they have no more business here, she asks Harushige if she could cut down the dungeon boss. Upon hearing that, Elvana cast a worried glance downward and Harushige sensed it. Elvana then mutters about how she couldn't gain her freedom even in the end. Would it be bad to bring her along? Harushige asks, much to Elvana's surprise. He points out that leaving her here doesn't feel right. Plus, his Tame is working, so it's not such a terrible idea, no? Sakurako smiles a little and fully sheathes her sword. Okay, she'll follow what their leader says. Just like that, all four of them stood inside the transfer circle as Sakurako activated it, sending them back to the surface. There was a flash of bright light, and before they realized it, they were standing on grass. They were already back outside, and it was already nighttime. Wow, Makoto feels refreshed. It feels like it's been ages. Sakurako says that's because they were inside the dungeon for days. Elvana is also somewhat in awe. This is her first time experiencing the outside world, and over there, was that building where her nest used to be? Suddenly the ground shook, and the Shinjuku dungeon started collapsing. Well, no surprise there. Since it lost its master, the dungeon has returned to its original form as a facility. Makoto asks if this means they're the ones who conquered the dungeon. Sakurako clarifies that if they report it to the guild and prove they defeated the dungeon boss, then yeah, they'll be credited. Harushige finds that stressful. It's going to be tough proving that to the guild. But phew. He put everyone in danger way too many times during this expedition. There are plenty to reflect on for next time, but right now, man, he's just so damn tired. He hasn't been this exhausted since his office worker days. He just wants to go home and sleep like the dead. But apparently his party mates have other plans, particularly Makoto. Since they've all made it safely back to the surface, she asks if they want to celebrate the occasion. Sakuraku is on board. It's been a while since they had a proper meal after all. At the mention of eating, Elvana demands they take her with them. Looking at these ladies before him, Harushige had a vision of himself working later as a salaryman back then, who looked up to see that he was the only one left in the office. But now, he's not alone. Makoto asks if they're down for yakiniku, while Sakurako asks if they could invite Anaguma along. Elvana, impatient as ever, just wants to eat more meat and go already. Makoto turns to Harushige, asking him what he thinks. His slime gives him a cute little cue before he agrees. Yeah, let's go. The ladies all turn to him, smiling, except the pouty Elvana. At the restaurant, everybody clinked their glasses. Kanpai. Anaguma, for one, always had a feeling that this loot would pull it off someday. But she didn't expect them to clear Shinjuku dungeon this fast. More importantly, she's curious if that little girl over there is the dragon they tamed. Speaking of dragons, Elvana is all grumpy now, asking where their food is. Anaguma could tell this girl is strong. Well, it's what you would expect from a dungeon boss anyway. Sakurako points out that the amazing one really is the power of Harushige's Tame. To think that his skill could even dominate a dungeon boss like that. He didn't say anything, and Anaguma changed the subject, becoming lighthearted. What matters right now is celebrating that they all made it back safely, so they should just focus on eating and drinking. Lucky for them, the waiter arrived with their 5-variety yakiniku platter. But someone grabbed the platter right off the plate. Elvana! She devoured them all, raw, commenting that the flavor's not bad, while the horrified waiter just stares at her. Her only comment is that it's too little. He should bring her more. Obviously, that warranted more restrictions on her side. Now, Harushige had added commands for her. Don't eat raw meat, don't eat things off the ground, and don't eat living things and the like. You can imagine just how pissed off she is, while Anaguma can't believe that this is the real deal. Harushige's Tame does work, the real deal. Meanwhile, he's just worried that his orders for her just keep piling up. This put her in a foul mood. Just when she finally got to leave and see the outside world, she was bombarded with, "Don't do this, don't do that, how tiresome." But then she noticed a piece of meat was being offered to her. Makoto held it up with her chopsticks, giving the cooked meat to the grumpy dragon girl. Of course, she took a bite, and while munching on it, Elvana became much more docile. At least Makoto is a good one. Seeing the two's interaction, Sakurako turns to Harushige, commenting on how Makoto's really good at taking care of people. Is it because she has siblings? Makoto, on the other hand, casts a worried glance at the other side of the table. And the reason for her worry is that both Sakurako and Anaguma are sporting massive racks. Then she turns to Elvana, flat-chested as ever. With that, she says watching Elvana puts her at ease, so can she call her Elle instead? What the? So she's just insecure all along. The dragon girl still hasn't given Makoto permission to do so, but the former already knows how to get her. Want more meat? And Elvana instantly folds. A little while later, someone slams their fist hard on the table, scaring poor old Harushige. This time, it's Sakurako. The girl is in tears, apologizing for causing everyone trouble, especially Harushige. Obviously, she's had a little too much to drink, and we didn't know she was the crying drunk type. He tells her it's fine, besides, she already apologized, but Sakurako's not content with that. She grabs him and headlocks him hard, pushing his face too close to her chest. Just let her apologize, man. From the other side, Anaguma joins in, suffocating the poor guy with their rack. Poor Harushige can't even look or breathe comfortably around them. Makoto had to intervene, telling the other ladies that they're way too close and making him uncomfortable. But Elvana adds to the chaos, demanding more meat while Sakurako's still hung up, asking Harushige if he's listening. Ultimately, they wrapped up for the night. With how things are, he tells them that Elvana would have to stay with him for now. Anaguma agrees. The dragon girl needs to stay with him since he used Tame on her. Meanwhile, she offers to take a passed-out Sakurako home. Makoto is worried. Is Harushige really taking Elvana home with him? Being alone with her is, Before she could finish, he reasoned that the Tame command is still working, so it should probably be fine. That's not what Makoto means at all. but she didn't dare voice it and looked at Elvana. The dragon girl herself didn't seem too bothered, so in the end Makoto decided she'd just trust him on this one. Our hero absolutely had no idea what Makoto was even worried about, but enough. They called it quits, with Oniguma and Makoto waving him goodbye. Now it's only Harushige and Elvana. The two walk side by side quietly and he is obviously acting carefully around her. He asks how she thought of it. Elvana curtly answers, how was what? So he had to elaborate. Does she think she could get along with everyone or something? She was quiet for a second longer before she asked him what he was misunderstanding. She reiterates that she is Elvana, the silver dragon. She doesn't run with anyone and she doesn't open her heart. The only reason she's obeying him is because of that damned Tame. Be that as it may, she won't wag her tail so easily without command. At that, Harushige just nodded and said he understood, nothing more. They were quiet again before Elvana spoke. He could make it happen if he wanted to. If Harushige just used his power, he can make her wag her tail for him and even rob her of her will itself. That voice she heard echoing in her head back then has created her with that purpose in mind. So why doesn't he do it? Harushige details how before he became an adventurer, before he met everyone, he had no will of his own. He did the work he was told to do and got fired when he was told to. He pretty much lived without deciding anything for himself. He tells her then how he realized that when you don't decide anything for yourself, you lose interest in tomorrow. He doesn't want to be like that anymore, and he doesn't want everyone else to end up that way either. What he wants is for people to decide the things that really matter to them freely, of their own free will. That includes Elvana too. What someone else decided for her doesn't matter, right? This is why he tells her she doesn't have to force herself to hang out with everyone, and he won't force her either. So, if there's anything she wants to say, he wants her to keep speaking up from now on. As long as it doesn't cause trouble for others, he'll do what he can to help. Elvana continues walking ahead, and without looking back, she tells him that he possesses the power of domination, yet he says such strange things. Then she finally turns to him, smiling as she says that he is unfit to be a ruler. He laughs and couldn't agree more, he thinks the same. It's not really his style, so he doesn't mind. Alright then, for a while, Elvana says she will live at his house for a while. They reach his apartment, and as soon as he opens the door, she blurts out, "It's tiny, the dragon girl can't believe it. What is this cramped room, a toilet?" She refuses to live here unless it's somewhere more spacious. Plus, she's also hungry, ordering Harushige to get her some meat. He didn't say anything, but it's obvious Harushige is low-key regretting his decision to have her live with him. It's been a week since Harushige and his party cleared the Shinjuku dungeon. Right now, he sits on his futon, contemplating in the dark before frowning. With a scratch of his head, he opens the door to his closet, and there's Elvana, fast asleep on his bed. This girl, really. She's sleeping with her stomach showing again. He pulls her clothes down, then proceeds to eat his breakfast peacefully with the slimes. Suddenly, Elvana sits up, immediately asking where her breakfast is despite her sleepy disposition. At that, Harushige tells her to wash her face first. As always, she starts fussing about this tiresome human common sense he's forcing upon her. She's the silver dragon. But before she could say anything more, he simply told her that she wouldn't have any breakfast if she didn't listen. Annoyed, she marches to the bathroom, all while he tells her that she could do as she likes, but within human society's rules. Cut to the next scene. She's all dressed up, happily eating her toast. She still hasn't even finished her piece yet, but she already wants Harushige to hurry up and spread the jam. The latter does, though he never expected her to take such a liking to toast. But wait a minute, he just realized that she eats 3 slices every meal. So that's 6 sliced loaves. But then again, considering her true form, maybe this amount of food is pretty cheap, right? Plus, if it were in her true form, she'd be much more horrifying when demanding food. Harushige hands her another piece of sliced bread with jam and then gets up. Oh, he's meeting with Makoto and the others today, so he wants her to get ready as well. Huh? But she was going to watch Whole Wheat Bread Man on TV today. Harushige tells her that today's the party planning meeting. Since she's part of the team too, he needs her there. She pouts before grumpily telling him that if he really wants to drag her along, then he could just order her or whatever. Oh, this again. Didn't Harushige tell her before that he doesn't want to do that? But Elvana still won't look at him. Okay, fine. He had no other choice but to resort to this. If she comes along quietly, then he'll buy her some special bread. Wait, what did he say? That got her attention. He goes on to say that there's this fancy bread with fresh cream kneaded in that's popular lately. It's incomparably better than the regular stuff, that's for sure. He remembers seeing it back when he was a salaryman. So how about it? Say no more, Elvana will go. Cut to later, Makoto and Sakurako are already sitting at the table when the latter is about to ask what happened. Before she could do so, Harushige began explaining how she managed to drag Elvana out, but she kept begging for stuff the whole way, which is why they ended up late. Harushige can only bow his head in apology, while Elvana doesn't look the least bit remorseful. Makoto is the only one happy for Elvana, and the latter even mistakes that for jealousy. Sakurako's only comment is that Harushige is such a softie. With all 4 of them seated at the table, Sakurako begins today's agenda by saying their immediate goal is to figure out Harushige's skill. The all-encompassing domination, that's what it's called, right? He confirms she's correct, then shares that the identity of the voice that gave Elvana her ego must be aware of the full extent of the skill. They especially need to figure out how to undo it, since Sakurako's still under its effect. But just like what she said before, Sakurako doesn't mind staying like this, earning a frown from Makoto. Anyway, she spent the past week searching for clues in her own way. With that, she pulls out her tablet and tells them to take a look. The other two do, and what greets them is Hoshizora Mariri, everyone's dungeon idol. She goes on, apologizing for the gap between videos, then asks how her viewers have been. Harushige has no idea who this is, while Makoto lights up. She knows Mariri. Sakurako is surprised that the latter knows her, and how could she not? Explorer Hoshizora Mariri shares dungeon information, and she's got over 5 million subscribers. According to Makoto, she's become a national explorer idol. Harushige must have seen her before in the guild guides. Honestly, he's not too sure, but maybe he has, no? To continue, Sakurako resumes the video, and from there, Mariri opens up about dungeon concerns as of late. Starting about half a year ago, she's been getting a lot of comments from her viewers that something strange is happening in the dungeons. Comments like that keep on coming in. That catches Harushige's attention. Something strange in the dungeons? Mariri knows everyone's getting worried, but she tells them not to be. In the video, she tells her viewers that she's going to dive into a certain dungeon soon and investigate this anomaly. So for now, everyone should look forward to it. With that, she ends the video. So in relation to what she said, Sakurako points out that Harushige became an explorer and acquired World Team, an all-encompassing domination half a year ago. Although it didn't exactly happen at the same time, Elvana's ego awakened recently as well. From these two, Sakurako believes there's a connection between the anomalies occurring in dungeons across the country over the past 6 months, and Harushige with his World Team, and all-encompassing domination. Both Harushige and Makoto are surprised by that theory, while Elvana remains unfazed. To continue what Sakurako was saying, there's also the fact that a dungeon boss that should never move from the lowest floor gained awareness and came up to the upper floors, targeting Harushige, its master. That could also be considered an anomaly. Ooh, now that Sakurako says it like that, Makoto agrees. Anyway, Sakurako combed through half a year's worth of videos and compiled a list of dungeons where anomalies were reported in the comments. Whoa! Both Harushige and Makoto were impressed with her work. She's like a detective. The latter checks the printouts and realizes that these dungeons are levels 80, 75, and even 90. Why, these are all high-difficulty dungeons. Sakurako asks if there's a problem with that. Didn't they conquer Shinjuku? It would be harder to find a dungeon tougher than that, after all. Oh, she's right, Makoto forgot they did that. Elvana grins before saying her piece. Ha, if it weren't for that cheat skill of all creation domination, then all of them would be in Elvana's belly by now. These mere humans shouldn't get so cocky. Sakurako glares at her, ready to fight it out, and Elvana's the same. Should she just devour Sakurako right here and now? As the two butted heads, Harushige tried to break it off, urging them both to calm down. Surprisingly, Makoto interferes and scolds Elvana. She shouldn't be saying things like that. Elvana is too stunned, and when she was about to reason out, Makoto wouldn't hear it. If Elvana keeps using words like kill all the time, then it will become a habit. Makoto doesn't know what the other is thinking. But since they're a party now, they should be friends, okay? Makoto flashes her the most innocent and genuine smile that it blinds Elvana. Wow, as expected of 1H-on. Sakurako calls Harushige's attention in a whisper. As much as she hates to say this, while Tame is in effect, she thinks it's best to deal with Elvana. He's surprised but continues to hear her out. Anyway, all creation domination is powerful, but it's not invincible. If they run into a powerful enemy up ahead and Harushige loses his life before he can tame it, then what happens to Elvana? She was about to suggest something, but he cut her off. First off, what she's saying is right, but he can't go along with that plan. Sakurako tries to persuade him, saying she also has feelings for Elvana too, but not as much as he does. Still, she's just thinking about the worst-case scenario. He tells her there are also the words that the voice was saying when it gave Elvana self-awareness. Gather beneath the ruler and offer yourselves. Harushige thinks those words may mean something. Sakurako is not convinced. Is that his only reason? Harushige continues that instead of tame, he honestly hopes that someday, Elvana will become their companion for real. That's what he's really thinking and hoping. And in case something happens to him, well, he'll just train so that doesn't happen. But that doesn't really solve it, does it? Anyway, even he knows it's all just wishful thinking, but there's still so much they don't know. So instead of deciding everything right here and now, they'll just prepare so they're ready when the time comes. For now, they'll just give it everything they've got. How's that sound? What he just said reminded Sakurako of a distant memory. When she was much younger, Sakurako remembers the time when she told her Oni-chan how she wished she could be like him. She wants to be strong like him. And to that, her older brother just told her that she should practice too. But Sakurako is also disheartened. It's impossible, she says, because she doesn't have his talent. That made him stop practicing and turn to her fully. Today she might not have his talent, But who knows what tomorrow will bring? Sakurako's not convinced because as far as she knows, tomorrow's just going to be the same as today anyway. Does she really think so? Nichan, what if tomorrow you're way stronger than today? Her older brother Sing-Songs then also answers the same question he asked, saying it's why he trains every day. This just annoyed Sakurako even more. But her Oni-chan continues that he might not get stronger, but it's only because it's been a day or two. However, those days add up to where you are now. He pats her head saying, if she gives it her all today, then won't tomorrow be something to look forward to? That's why someday he believes Sakurako might end up becoming stronger than he is. Sakurako refuses to believe it, and that just confused her Nichan. Did his message not get through her at all? Back to the present, Sakurako kind of gets it now. So what Harushige is trying to say is that she shouldn't be trapped by what's in front of her. Believe in the future and prepare for it. Is that it? Alright, fine. Just in case that time comes, Sakurako will train so she can hold back Elvana. She will keep honing her skills. Besides, instead of cutting her down now, she'll do what she can for that tomorrow. They can't see yet so that one day they can truly treat Elvana as a companion. That's a nice monologue until Sakurako's mood soured again when Elvana looked at her and stuck out her tongue. This pissed Sakurako again, so Harushige had to remind her of what she said not a minute ago. She said she'll do what she can, right? Anyway, Harushige picks up the printout Sakurako brought and notes the high difficulty dungeon. Just a few months ago, he was just a normal salaryman. Huh. You never really know what life's gonna throw at you, back then if he hadn't chosen to become an explorer. That day when he sat by the park and looked up at, wait a minute, he calls everyone's attention then and asks them what they think of this place. Sakurako agrees almost immediately and Makoto's also a go. She has never been there before. Alright, it's decided then. It's a new day and all four of them march off toward their new target. And this target in mind is none other than the Tokyo Skytree Dungeon.